हो गया
वो कर देता है फुल
वापस लाओ रूम पे संडे को जाओ I think we are late by 4 or 5 minutes, but it's starting because we have to do a Facebook live. So this will be live on the Facebook as well. And it is live on the Facebook of Indians in Paris group, which has 25,000 participants. So good afternoon to everybody. I think now we are ready to go. I think we are ready to go now. So let me introduce the panel. I am Professor Dr. Vivek GUPTA in Apollo Hospital, Delhi. I've been here working for a long period, and let me introduce the panel because we have a long time and we have many eminent people here. So I would like to welcome, I don't know whether Indresh is online. Indresh is online. Let me see, because he may be joining very soon. Let me check, because he's our very special guest from a very eminent social person from BJP and RSS, and he's also representing the chief of the Muslim counterpart of RSS. He's our friend and he will be joining soon. So let me introduce myself, that I'm Professor Dr. Vivek GUPTA from Apollo Hospital, New Delhi. So we will have a webinar. This is third webinar of IECR. And this IECR has been there for since 2008, and with the help of Dr. Professor Helen Cribier and support of many French and other European cardiologists. We have people from, I would like to introduce Dr. Professor Jack Lewin, who is the past president of ACC, American College of Cardiology, now principal and founder, Lewin Associates, Health, Science, Innovation and Policy, New York, the chairman of National Coalition on Healthcare, Washington, D.C., former president of ACC and CEO of Cardiovascular Research Foundation. Then I have to like to introduce and say hello to Dr. Shieban, who is Director of Interventional Cardiology, University of Turin, Verona, Italy. And he's our close friend for last almost 15-20 years. And I would like to introduce Dr. Helder Parierra, who is the Director of Interventional Cardiology, Lisbon, Portugal. We were planning to do IECR in Portugal, but we'll soon try to do this. Just 1 second. जल्दी फोन कीजिए. हाँ बताइए नीलेश जी क्या हुआ? Called, he will be joining soon and been different. And then I would like to introduce Dr. P.C. Rath, our friend from Hyderabad Apollo. Dr. T.R. Raghu is the president of Indian College of Cardiology, presently in Jayadeva Institute of Bangalore, is the head of Department of Cardiology, one of the very premium institute. Dr. Mansoor Ahmad, he's in Karachi, our friend from Pakistan. And then Dr. Abdul Rashid Khan, Dr. P.K. Ashokan, our colleague and friend for IECR for a long time. Ms. Madhvi Agarwal, she is the Board of Governors in National Youth Ministry, National Executive Chair, Mahila Mukti Morcha, BJP. She'll be talking about this. And Mr. Pankaj Jeswani is a Bollywood bhajan singer and also celebrity singer. He'll be giving some sort of a help. So if I can see other people, I may start my talk right away. And then I will, after my talk, and then I will take Mr. Dr. Jack Lewin and then Dr. Shieban. In between, if Indresh ji is ready, then we'll take a social message from Indresh ji, who is our patron for this meeting. And I can see many other people. So I think I should start my talk because time is limited, but we'll continue. Jack, I will request you to continue, and Shieban as well as Helder to continue till the end of the meeting, which may be a little more than 8:30 p.m. So we have all the help by my Dr. Chinmay Gupta, my son, is helping me in all logistics. Dr. Hari Sharma from Holland, I was seeing him, and he will be also giving some comments. So let me start, and I would like to tell you that the participants number is quite huge because going Facebook live from our account as well as from Indians in Paris, which has 25,000 participants, and they have friends from Mr. Sahu, Mr. Rawat, and Mr. Saurabh. They are Indians in Paris. They have a huge Facebook account, and we are live there also. So I would let me share my screen of my talk, which I will be limited to about 15 minutes. I'm sharing the screen. PowerPoint. I think you can see the screen. Everybody can see the screen.
Yes.
Shieban, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, I see.
Okay, so we will start my talk with this slideshow. Yes. Okay, so
Asmita?
COVID-19, SARS-CoV-19.
Asmita?
Yeah.
Facebook चला रहे.
Okay, so I'm starting my presentation, which will be limited to 15 minutes. I'll try to cover up everything, including, yeah, I would like to say hello to Indresh Kumarji, who is just gone live, and good morning, good evening, Indreshji, namaste. And I have started my talk on COVID-19, and I will take your social message as a very important social message after a while. Indreshji, can you hear me, sir? आपको सुनाई दे रहा है सर मुझे मेरी आवाज? Hello, can you hear me? Namaskar, Indresh ji. Okay, I think I continue my talk and then I'll take him on this. Okay, so my presentation starts now. We have COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2 is a disastrous condition. We all are suffering since December 2019. That's why it is known as COVID-19. We all know that the SARS virus had come earlier as well in the form of MERS and SARS earlier. And this is the same strain, but a different and more disastrous condition. So as of now, today, the global perspective is that about 37 lakhs people, 3.7 billion are suffering. More than 2,58,000 people have died. We all know from television, but I would like to just revise. Today, as of now, India, 49,000 people are infected and more than 1,600 or 1,700 deaths. This is very important. We have started opening up the lockdown. I would like to remind you that yesterday only there were a new infection of 3,900 and more than 195 deaths in one day in India. That means we have still not peaked, and therefore this is a reason for concern for our Prime Minister, for our other people. Our Prime Minister is very proactive in producing the lockdown earlier than other people. So that only in one day, 3,900 people were infected yesterday and more than around 200 deaths in one day in India for the first time. So coming on to US perspective, which is most important sufferer, 12 lakhs people, 12 lakh 30. This is WHO figure today just now, and more than 72,000 deaths in USA. This is very important. The most important developed company, the most 25 trillion economy, with a very aggressive Mr. Donald Trump as the president of US. They have not been able to control it, and we have such a huge number. Although they are thinking of promoting, that everybody should be. Are you hearing everything? Everybody's hearing? Are you listening?
Yes, I can hear very well.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
so coming on to the Italian
too.
perspective for Italian friends, we have 2,13,000 people infected, 29,000 deaths. We were the second country to be most importantly affected. And today, when we are comparing the figures from India, the number of people infected in India per day is more than now Italy. So it's a reason for concern when they are thinking of reducing the lockdown. And at this point of time, we are suffering. Coming on to the perspective, virus disease per se, we all know it's a virus disease. I'll not take too much of time. I'm not a virologist, but I have learned a lot during this time. This is SARS-CoV-2 entry and replication, and then there's antigen presentation, then cellular immunity and humoral immunity. The vaccine is dependent upon these to be produced by the help of cellular and humoral immunity. I'm not going too much in detail in that. The coronavirus entry and replication, I'm not going details, but just to tell you the coronavirus S14 has been reported significant determinant of virus entry into the host cells. After the virus cells enter into the viral RNA genome is released into the cytoplasm and is translated into two polyprotein and structural proteins. Viral particles germinate into the endoplasmic Golgi intermediate compartment. Sorry. Currently, we don't have any report about antigen presentation of SARS-CoV-2, and we can only get information from the previous researches of SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV virus. Humoral and cellular immunity antigen presentation comparing to the latest reports show the number of CD4 and CD8 T cells in the peripheral blood of SARS-CoV-2 infected patient is significantly reduced, whereas its status is excessive activation. What about the acute CD4, and I would like to skip this slide, and I will show you what is cytokine storm. The most important part of cytokine storm is that the report in Lancet shows that acute respiratory distress syndrome is the main cause of COVID-19. One of the main mechanisms of ARDS is cytokine storm. The cytokine storm will trigger a violent attack by the immune system to the body, causing ARDS, multiple organ failure, and finally death. So this is, we all know that 80% patients do not have any major illness. 20% will have major illness. Out of those, 10 or 5, depending upon the comorbidity, will have a serious illness, and they have the fatality despite the ventilator treatment or plasma treatment. Well, how to diagnose this thing? The clinical symptoms and signs of patients infected with SARS-CoV-2 are highly atypical. But we know that cough, fever, and dyspnea are 3 prominent symptoms, and this is dry cough. The clinical diagnosis is mainly based upon epidemiological history, clinical manifestation, and of course the test, which is PCR test. Coming on to the PCR test, the most important is real-time quantitative polymerase chain reaction, and this is taken through the is the most common, effective, and straightforward method for detecting, and this is taken from the respiratory secretion, not from the blood. Although blood can be used, but that's very expensive. The radiological diagnosis in COVID is very important because there is a false negative test rate. This is very important for the people, doctors as well as the people. Let me tell you, in this group, on the Facebook Live, a lot of non-medical people are there. So I may be speaking something more which looks irrational to the doctors community, but it's important because this is a new disease. We have to be very, very careful, and we have to understand the pathophysiology. Every day something new is coming. So let me tell you that there are false negative tests of also, this is PCR. The CT scan can be considered a necessary auxiliary diagnostic method because it's more sensitive. For individuals with a high clinical suspicion and you have a negative PCR test, PCR is the most important test. This takes about 24 hours to come. A combination of repeated PCR and chest CT scan may be helpful. This is ground glass appearance of CT scan, which is visible, and therefore this is a very important part, that CT scan is the most important diagnostic test other than PCR test. Testing is the key to success. We know that PCR test is done from the respiratory secretion, and now many antibody tests are being done. India as of now is testing about 700 to 800 patients per million. This is very important. America is doing about 8,000 people per million. Germany has done the maximum 25,000 to 30,000 patients per million. India is catching up. But our case of this is not as of now because of the high density of population and not easily availability of the PCR test. As of now, the government of India, along with our Honorable Prime Minister, with Narendra Modi ji and the Health Ministry, they are doing the best. We are also trying to get the community testing with the antibody test, which is coming from test kit from China and Singapore. And this is a blood test. This is a respiratory secretion test from the throat swab, while the antibody test is the blood test, and they give the results within 3 minutes. But it only tests the antibody. It does not tell the confirmation of the COVID-2. So testing is the key to success. The different states are faring in different way. Delhi is the most prominent. It's about 1,000% per million, about 1,500 to 2,000 per million. As of now, the total India, we are testing about 700% per million. So we are far behind than European countries. Germany, I said, Italy is about 8,000. This is what my knowledge about 4 days back. How medicines work. As of now, there is no specific medicine to counter this disease. We have anti-malarial medicine, we have HIV, anti-HIV medicine, we have antibiotic for infection, we have a medicine for the heart, but for this COVID-19 virus, there is no specific medicine as of now. This is very strange. As I would like to explain to you as a little knowledge about the virus enters the cell. You can see the virus enters the cell, and then of course, through the membrane fusion and endocytosis, it goes and replicates and forms different kind of proteins. Hydroxychloroquine works at the level of endocytosis, while remdesivir, which is considered to be one of the important antiviral medicine, remdesivir, which is US FDA approved very recently, works at the level of RNA-dependent RNA polymerase level. So this is very important, and we go to the next slide. We go into the next slide, that is hydroxychloroquine. This is very important point. As of now, there have been a surge of various information coming up. The French people saying something else, Chinese people saying something else, then the French virologist saying something else. This is, first of all, let me tell you, there are 2 methods of hydroxychloroquine. One is prophylaxis, that means prevention. This is approved by the Indian Council of Medical Research. This is the guideline, which is about 3 weeks back. All the healthcare workers which are working in the hospital, doctors, nurses, housekeeping staff, medicines people, the pharmacy people in the hospital should take 400 milligram twice a day, only for 1 day, and then followed by 400 milligram once a week for 7 weeks. There is no doubt. There have been so many doubts created by a lot of cardiologists, including myself, that it can be harmful and dangerous. So let me come back to you that it is not dangerous. It is very safe. You have to do only one ECG. If the ECGs are normal, there is no QT interval in difference. So all people who are in the healthcare worker, and also I would increase this to the people who are in the field like policemen, they should also have this prophylaxis. This is not the treatment. This helps in reducing the virus load. That means a person who gets infected, if he has hydroxychloroquine, he will not become serious. This is the hypothesis, not a treatment. The French Professor Didier Marseille, this is from Marseille Rold. I want to show you a very small video where he was laughing, and this is February video. It's in French. So this is in French. I would like to translate this. At this, in February, when the China said hydroxychloroquine should be used, he was very laughing that he said that it has so many cardiac patients and it has huge toxicity. But similarly, at the same time, he was releasing April 9. He released an article, research work on 1,000 patients, and the 1,000 patients, the study said that hydroxychloroquine, there is no major cardiotoxicity. He made a U-turn, a good clinical outcome, and 90% success, and very low death rate of only 0.4%. Normally, death rate in patients who are otherwise is 5 to 7%. That's why we are worried. So hydroxychloroquine azithromycin combination is safe in the treatment. This is for treatment, not for prevention. Chinese study has already confirmed in February, which I would like to read out. I will not read all the conclusion. Despite the few number of cases, there is no doubt that it is a promising practice to apply hydroxychloroquine under release management, therefore it should be used. What about FDA? FDA on 28 March, they had said that this can be used only as emergency use of hydroxychloroquine. But later on they changed in 25 April because the disease is progressing, people are learning. Every day there are different hypotheses, different guidelines, and different FDA regulations. In 25th April, they said it can be used. And Mr. Donald Trump was very aggressive in getting this imported from India. In India, initially, an honorable Prime Minister had banned the export of hydroxychloroquine from India, and on the request of many countries, including Mr. Donald Trump, it was finally approved to be exported from India to US, and they have got it now. This is a very important drug, even for treatment and also for prevention, only for healthcare workers. So you see, the Trump has repeatedly said that although there is no conclusive test, but still can be used. Approval is pending, but it can be used. This is what FDA said in 25th April 2020. So coming on to another anti-parasite medicine, I want to really give you 1 minute only for this medicine. This is the only medicine, ivermectin, which is actually, nobody has heard about this medicine earlier. It is anti-parasite drug, which is very effective in vitro. It has a huge antivirus activity and more than 95%, 5,000-fold reduction of viral RNA in vitro. But this is only in vitro, and we don't have, as of now, the brief report says the possibility that ivermectin could be useful as antivirus. I'm not sure whether human trials have started or not, but this is in vitro study, very conducted human trials are required, and this can be the only medicine which can be very useful. Coming on to the mask, I would like to give you a lot of people are using the mask the whole over the world, but we have evolved. Coming from the January, when Mr. Donald Trump came to India, then in March, when we have aggressive use, everybody was advised that we can use a ply-3 mask or N95 mask for the interest of the public, not for doctors. But I would like to tell you that this mask has to be used all the time, everywhere, even when you go out in the body, because there's a possibility of asymptomatic carrier and there's a possibility of airborne. And thirdly, we don't know. Earlier, it was only for the healthcare workers, and I would like to show you a very small video, which I said on 26th of March on TV. So this was 26 March, and that time people laughed at me that mask should not be used for everybody. And this is 29th March. So on 29th March, I said Angocha, and it was approved later on by Gamcha, by everybody. I was very happy that my words was almost whether it was just like that. So anybody outside should be using Angocha or Gamcha. Our Prime Minister, this is very important because the virus can be airborne. Patient can be asymptomatic carrier. In March, nobody thought. I gave it out at that time in March only that this can be asymptomatic carrier as well as there is a possibility of airborne. Coming on to the vaccine, everybody is reading vaccine every day. What is vaccine actually? Just for the interest of the people, how the vaccine is prepared, I would like to show you that actually how the vaccine is made from the protein taken out, and then the similar protein is given intramuscularly to the patient, initially tested on animals, and then later on it is tested on humans. As of now, the very latest report says of WHO saying it will take more than 6 months. Vaccine is for prevention. That means once you are vaccinated, there are a lot of disease where vaccine is available. For example, for measles, chickenpox, polio, smallpox, the vaccines are available. Pending vaccines are, for example, the pending vaccine is HIV vaccine is still not there. Swine flu vaccine is available. So vaccine is the only way not to cure, not to treat, but for prevention. It's the best way. So I would like to read out the May 6th. Israel develops key COVID antibody that attacks and neutralizes the virus in patient body. Israel Institute of Biological Research has isolated a monoclonal antibody that can neutralize COVID-19, but it is unclear if the vaccine has been tested on humans. But they made a big news yesterday. Israel develops key antibody that attacks and neutralizes the virus in the patient body. So I'm finishing off the Israel part, coming on to Italy. Today only and day before. This is May 6th, a team of Italian researchers. I would like to have comments from Dr. Shieban about this. A key team of Italian researchers on Wednesday claimed that they have successfully developed a vaccine that can help contain the novel coronavirus that causes COVID. So they are very breakthrough is likely. These vaccine candidates are injected with a small electroporation technique which consists of intramuscular injection following a brief electrical impulse, helping the vaccine break into the cells. So Oxford University trial. This is very important. 1 week back, the Oxford University was the first university to start the human trial. You see all the vaccines, there are about 40 vaccines available in the whole world, but the human trial is still pending. The human trial of Oxford vaccine, one of the more than 100 being developed across the world, started in April 23. And it's very important that the virologist herself has been the first person to be given the vaccine, because human trial is not easy, because everybody who volunteers for the human trial, they are also likely to get infected. So very, very important. Contact tracing, I'm not going details, but Aarogya Setu, which is a contact tracing app coming from the Ministry of Health Welfare, will be able to help. Now there are guidelines from the Government of India, and there are a lot of questions whether it is legal or not, that all the people who are joining the offices, government offices, they have to have obligatory contact tracing app in their mobile. How it helps? It helps through that anybody who has got this contact tracing app, if he comes in contact with a person who was COVID-19 during last 14 days, the app will tell him that you have been under the contact of somebody who was COVID-19, and therefore you should go into quarantine or you should stay home. This is how social distancing and physical distancing. European studies are there, recovery trial, I'm not going to details. There's a new drug which has been proposed by no less than my father, who has been a very important researcher in Indian Council of Medical Research. I'm not going to name them. Letter has been sent to the Prime Minister office, and he has divided. This is how you can do a research for the new drug. Corona positive asymptomatic given trial drug, development of symptoms of course of disease should be given. And then corona positive symptomatic patient and group 3 corona positive. The new research is very difficult. It's not easy. It has been submitted to the Indian Council of Medical Research. Dr. Vivek GUPTA, my father, pharmacologist from Lucknow, an assistant director earlier, now retired. He has thought that one of the important drugs, I'm not going to name it, which is available in India, can be tested for anti-COVID activity. I'm just trying to do this pending approval from the government. This may be tested because, as I told you, there is not a specific single drug which can help the recovery and treatment. Plasma antibody therapy is an important treatment protocol. This is the antibodies taken out from the blood of the COVID-19 patients. And these antibodies are used as investigational. This is still investigational according to ICMR, that this will be infused into the body of the very sick patients, and the patient has shown a positive response, and this is now approved by Indian Council of Medical Research. Herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Herd immunity is when the patient, for example, Stockholm, let me give you an example of Sweden and Europe. They have not done the lockdown, thinking that they will develop herd immunity. That means everybody who is exposed, let them be infected first, and then what will happen, that during the time of infection, they will have their own immunity developed, and finally, all will have immunity. This is the thought process. But this cannot be taken in COVID-19 because of the high mortality. Because of high mortality, this cannot be taken as, that's why the social distancing and physical distancing, the lockdown all over the world has been done, because COVID-19 causes death in 15% patients of heart, and 15% to 10% more.
I'm not hearing you.
Vivek, we can't hear you. The sound has faded.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you at all. Gupta, we cannot hear you.
Can you unmute? You are mute, Dr. Gupta.
You're muted.
Mr. Gupta, please unmute yourself. You are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm listening to you. Let me see.
Okay, now you're back.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. For how many minutes you missed me?
About 1 minute.
Okay, that's okay. Doesn't matter. Indresh ji, namaskar. Can you hear me, Indresh ji? Can you hear me? Just to say, introduce us once again. Indresh ji, namaste.
Namaskar. I am listening you. I am in your conference.
Thank you so much. We'll finish my talk and then we'll take American, and then I'll take yourself for your spiritual and social message.
So after your lecture, I have to speak.
No, you'll speak after the American. If you please wait for some time. Do you mind to stay, or you have some other work?
Okay, I can wait up to 8. It is sufficient.
Okay, so it's enough. It's enough. Yes, yes.
So at 8, you give me some time. I will pay my respect to all, and I will say some words for all of you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I will just give me 1 minute more. Just give me 1 minute more because I have to do some changes in my computer. Just 1 minute. Just go ahead.
So before 8, you want you 1 or 2 speaker, you can, unless after 8:10, you can you are full freedom to
Okay, thank you. Just give me 1 minute to start.
8 to 8:10, only 10 minutes.
Okay, good.
So I can attend some important job.
Okay. I'll just take 1 minute break because I have to speak.
हमें लगता है ये जो बाल्कन स्टेट जो था ना सेंट्रल एशिया का, से लेकर अरब से नीचे उत्तर की तरफ अफ्रीकी देश, ये गाने
Give me one bhajan. In the meantime, I'm trying to relieve my hard disk. Mr. Jeswani, Pankaj Jeswani.
Balkistan in the Middle East.
I will take one minute with Mr. Pankaj Jeswani. He requested me to give us some sort of bhajan in the beginning, but we missed him. So you start your bhajan. In the meantime, I'm trying to create a space in my hard disk.
की लड़ाइयाँ जो हुई है,
Mr. Jeswani.
अफ्रीका नहीं रहा।
Mr. Jeswani, Pankaj जी.
सर मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
आपको आ रही, आप शुरू करिए, भजन शुरू करिए अपना।
अच्छा भजन से शुरू करूं?
हाँ कर दीजिए, हमको 2 मिनट लग रहा है, हमको अपनी हार्ड डिस्क की खाली करनी है जरा।
हाँ मैं भजन से शुरुआत करता हूँ। सुंदर सा भजन है प्रभु का।
3 मिनट्स।
ओके सर सो नाइस ऑफ यू। सबसे पहले धन्यवाद करूंगा, मुझे आप अपने साथ जोड़ लेते हैं। ठीक है सर, ये सुंदर सा भजन प्रभु के चरणों में है, सुनिए आप। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, इनका विश्वास कमजोर होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, इनका विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम चले नेक रस्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम चले नेक रस्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, उनका विश्वास कमजोर होना। मेरी पिक्चर आ रही है सर?
Okay, thank you so much. We can start my presentation now.
हर तरफ जुल्म है, बेबसी है, सहमा हर आदमी है। पाप का बोझ बढ़ता भी जाए, जाने कैसे ये धरती थमी है। बोझ ममता कमा तू उठा ले, तेरी रचना का ही अंत होना। हम चले नेक रस्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, उनका विश्वास कमजोर होना।
Thank you very much, Pankaj ji. It was very nice. We'll have taken you at the end again. So, can you see my slides?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very
much. Ashokan, can you see my slides? Ashokan, can you see my slides?
No, can hear you very well. Can't see your slides now.
I see your slide.
You can see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, so I continue. So let me tell you about Coming back to the ventilator treatment, you missed out the herd immunity. I was telling that for the interest of the people who are otherwise non-medical, herd immunity is very important for the non-virus diseases which are not very dangerous. But for COVID-2, it is not so there. But still, Stockholm has relaxed a little, and they wanted the herd immunity to develop a more. Herd immunity means that everybody is first allowed to be infected, and they will have immunity develop, and then later on, it's like a vaccine, a natural vaccine. But and everybody is differing on this issue, and that is why the lockdown and social distancing and physical distancing and masking. Ventilator treatment is very important part. This is required at least in 5% patients all over the world. This is very dangerous, and but I would like to tell the public especially, because a lot of people are listening on the Facebook Live. Lot of people are fearing that ventilator means something which has been done unnecessary. This is a fear in the mind and phobia in the mind of Indian public. Especially the Indian public, ventilator लगा दिया, इसका मतलब है कि इलाज नहीं हो रहा है, जबरदस्ती लगा दिया, पैसा बनाने के लगा दिया. Now people are realizing how important is ventilator. Let me tell you, ventilator is a life-saving. It is additional oxygen given either non-invasively or by putting a tube inside the trachea with the windpipe, and this helps till the lungs recover. Even in the patients who are seriously ill, especially those patients who have a lung, the arterial blood gases are disturbed, saturation is not maintained. Please don't blame the hospitals or doctors when your relationship is getting ventilator for any disease. This is what I would say. Italy fell short of ventilator. USA, they had to have a special, and there was situation in Italy and otherwise in China when the doctor had to really decide whether one ventilator, 3 patients, which one should be given. Let the 2 die, the young person should get it. This was happening when it was on the peak. Healthcare workers are very important. Lot of Italian physicians, Indian doctors, American doctors have died, nurses. So we have to take care of them. I again repeat, all healthcare workers should take hydroxychloroquine as a preventive after doing the ECG, if the ECG showed. Role of China is something very intriguing. Every day we are hearing for the public that is a man-made. Mr. Donald Trump did not hesitate in saying this is a China virus. So there were 2 news which are different. Professor of medicine, Japan, professor of medicine, Dr. Honjo, who has worked earlier, he said, I have done 40 years of research on animal and virus. It is manufactured and virus is completely artificial. This was a news and which went into viral. This news became viral, and he's a Nobel laureate and he's a very important person. But unfortunately, later on it was Asian scientist, April 28. Professor Honjo, awardee of the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine, has refuted any link to social media post that claim that he has said this. But still the world is suffering. We don't know. Today the news item was there that that if it is not man-made, then why China is not allowing the investigation. Doesn't matter. It's political. We don't want to go into deep study. But if it is actually natural, then it's okay. If it is not natural, you have to be very, very thoughtful, and this can happen again next year. Indian economy, other economy, Mr. Vivek GUPTA will take over and give 5 minutes comments in the end. Mr. Abhijit Banerjee, who was the Nobel laureate recently, he said, let me tell you one very important thing, that a lot of people are getting free money in India as well as in France. In France, I was told that Mr. Macron, the president of France, has allowed some amount of money to everybody, private or government. That means they're giving something like salary or stipend or scholar, whatever so you say, it's sort of everybody's getting, including the school children. That's a very good thing. We have to learn from them. India is also giving. Coming on to the last part of my presentation, I have covered vaccine, I have covered plasma therapy, I have covered ventilator, COVID and heart will be taken care of by something. But the pregnant women who are delivering the babies, the study has been shown, the babies which are born, they are not infected. This is a study done in China. I'm not going to details. They have the antibodies, but they are not infected. COVID and heart will be taken by, I think I have to finish now, and then I'll tell you, but I have to give you one small slide to show you what is the level of percentage of death, especially in comorbid conditions. This is the last slide for me, and I will show you the case fatality rate published in February 24 in JAMA. This shows that patients who are more than 80, 15% patient dies. With cardiovascular disease, 10% mortality, very high. With diabetes, 7% mortality. But on the paradoxically, although it's a respiratory disease mainly, only 6% patients who are having associated, this is only death. overall death is 2 to 3%. It's difficult to say. Various disease. India is having less percentage. More patients are there. If you are elderly, this is the last slide. I thank you very much for listening to me a little more than what I was supposed to speak. And I would like to invite Ms. Madhavi Agarwal. She has just joined. She will be the speaker later on in the part. Now I hand over the mic and I stop sharing. I can show my face. I stop sharing. And I think the title is just started. And I'll request Jack Lewin, who is from New York, and he's living in a penthouse, a very important penthouse in the Manhattan in the USA. I would like to see those videos which I saw yesterday. And he's a consultant to a very important firm. He has a large experience. He has been the president of American Society of Cardiology for years. He was the CEO of Cardiovascular Research Foundation, which is doing TCT, very important conference of cardiology, the most important. Greg Stone was there in our live webinar on 20th April. So I invite Dr. Jack Lewin to please give his deliberations. And yeah, I can hear you very well. You're loud and you are very good visible and looking very handsome.
Very good. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Very good. Thank you very, very much, Vivek Gupta. It's an honor to be with you, my friend. And, you know, I'm an internist and critical care physician, but I've spent most of my later career in the cardiovascular space at the American College of Cardiology and Cardiovascular Research Foundation, which you all know as TCT in terms of the educational venue. I am currently working as the chairman of the National Coalition on Healthcare, advising Congress, if anyone can do that in the US, a very tough job, at any rate, to try to get through the COVID crisis, but also our general healthcare system needs major changes because we can't afford it. It's way too expensive. So let me talk a little bit today with you about the experience. I live right in Manhattan in New York City, which became the epicenter of the infection. We now know that the infection was spreading wildly in New York City in early February, probably in late January. It came from Wuhan initially, but most of the cases in New York actually came secondarily from Europe and from flights there. And so we've traced it. We also know that the original virus in Wuhan appears to be less fatal than a mutated version of the virus, which is what arrived in New York City from Europe, a more lethal version of the virus. This is what we're all dealing with now, I think. But we in the United States, you don't want to copy our approach because we delayed our response. We really didn't have the right kind of leadership here, and we delayed our response for the months of January and February and even March, to the point that the virus had widely spread throughout the population. We didn't know this until there was more testing available, but New York City, of course, is a mecca for people all over the world, and the virus flew in here from various places and was largely spreading before there was any awareness of that. The CDC had problems too in the United States. And part of that is really the CDC, a very, 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 very proud and excellent agency, has recently had cuts in its funding from Congress and from the more conservative Republican side of the Congress. And it wasn't really prepared for this epidemic in a way that it would have been 5 or 10 years ago. CDC actually contaminated the test circumstances in their highly controlled laboratories. So the early tests in the United States did not work. And this put us way far behind because the FDA has to approve the tests, and they have very stringent rules and regulations. Until those were relaxed, we went for nearly 2 months without having any adequate testing here. So I'd have to call that a gap of leadership, not science. But the other problem is that in the current administration in Washington, the president decided to defer responsibility to the 50 states in the United States, meaning the governors were in charge. And that meant that there was a very poor coordination of the entire national effort and a difficulty even in measuring with data systems what was really going on. Now, the president did execute a travel ban from China and later from Europe, but even after the China travel ban was executed, 40,000 people came from China, many from Wuhan, in the next week or two after that, and many came right directly to New York. New York is the most densely populated part of the United States. People ride the subways, public transportation. There's crowded conditions everywhere on the sidewalks, in offices, in apartments. And so the virus spread incredibly rapidly in New York City. And we rapidly became the epicenter of COVID around the world. We've had by far the more deaths in New York than any other country has had. And we have currently, more like a third of a million, 50,000 people are known to be COVID positive in this state alone, compared to the 1.2 million people known to be positive currently in the United States. Now, by the end of today or early tomorrow, 75,000 people will have died in the United States. But what we know from New York, because we've done serologic antibody testing, I'll talk a little bit more about testing in a minute, but we know about doing random antibody tests at markets and stores where people go to for food and at pharmacies, that about 25% of the general population in New York City has already been exposed to and infected by the virus. Most of these people had no symptoms, and almost all were recovered at the time of their testing. So we know the virus has spread far more in the population than we knew. When we look at some of the death rates that Dr. Gupta showed us a few minutes ago, we now realize, given the large number of asymptomatic people in the population, that the good news is that the death rate is much lower, because most people who get infected have very few, if any, symptoms at all. And so when we put all of that together, we're going to see that the death rate's lower, but still it's much more lethal than the regular influenza. And so, we're going to have to kind of understand that this is a very dangerous virus indeed. We have, let me talk a little bit about the tests and so forth and what we've learned in the United States. We have instituted 3 types of tests thus far. The PCR test, polymerase chain reaction test, which is considered the gold standard because it measures the virus, the presence of the virus acutely. But it has the problem of being not an easy test to administer. It's difficult to get the good nasal swab. It requires people to have protective equipment on to obtain the test. And it takes several days to get the results in most instances, but that's the test we've been using. We're also using ELISA tests, which have recently been introduced. ELISA tests for antibodies. They're also, though, so what we would really like to use, and we'd like to get better quality tests, are the serologic tests that were developed in China. These tests can be administered with a finger stick of blood. Results occur in 5 or 10 minutes, and they measure IgM if you're acutely infected and IgG if you have been infected. And if you see both IgM and IgG, obviously you're currently infected. If you have IgM only, it's an early phase of the infection. And if you have IgG only in that detection, then it means you've been infected and presumably have recovered and have immunity. Since we don't know the nature of immunity with this particular virus yet, we can surmise from our experience with other coronaviruses that we ought to have probably up to a year of immunity post-infection. However, data in South Korea and some in China suggests that some people who were infected and apparently recovered with a negative PCR test suffered what appeared to be a relapse a week or two later. Many got very, very sick and died. Now, the numbers of people who had these alleged relapses are very small, less than a tenth or 1/100% of cases. So probably there was something there that might be different. These people might have had a unique circumstance in terms of their immunity. They may have suffered an infection with that second version of coronavirus that was detected, and not been immune to that, or the testing may have been wrong, and they may have been harboring the virus all through the entire time that they were in a convalescent period. They had not fully recovered. We didn't have antibody tests for these people. So even if there is such a thing as a relapse in coronavirus, we do know it's quite rare. And that's good news, because immunity is probably being conferred to most people who have the infection and recover. Here in New York, where literally thousands of healthcare workers have been infected, of course, many died, but the vast majority recovered, and they are now back working on the front lines in their hospitals. So we've seen no instance of someone who recovered, went back to work, and had a relapse, and that's good news. But we don't know the answer to this yet in terms of the length of immunity. So we're using all three kinds of tests. I've actually developed a program, I'll talk a little bit about it later, called Reboot America, which would help people go back to work safely using lots of testing options and monitoring of temperature and symptoms for everybody that goes back to work with public health precautions. But presuming people that have had the virus and have high levels of IgG, presumed immunity, could largely work in an unrestricted fashion. People who go back to work who are virus naive, that is, there's no evidence they've ever been infected, have to continue social distancing, careful public health controls and mask wearing and so forth. But they could go back to work, but need to be closely monitored to maintain safety. And we also have to be sure that those individuals have no vulnerabilities in terms of immune issues that either they or their family member might have. And those people should be working remotely and not go back to the office. We're trying to get people back to work in the US, but we want to do it in a scientific, systematic, and safe way. But we do believe everyone should know their viral status. The simplest way to get that is one of the serologic finger stick tests to know if you've been infected or not and have immunity. It doesn't definitively tell you whether you might have been infected 2 days ago and you haven't developed clinical symptoms yet. But it would really help us understand people who have less risk because they've been through the infection, presumably asymptomatically. So we'd like to do massive testing. We currently do not have the capabilities. We're ramping up to do that in the US. And we're building all three kinds of tests. More PCR tests. We're going to be trying to use the Rutgers new saliva test for PCR, which can be mailed to a patient or an employee at their home, applied, sent back to the lab, and you don't have to come into the health center and risk the health workers who provide the test. So we're going to try to expand the use of that. We're expanding the use of ELISA testing for antibodies. And we're clearly going to have to expand the serologic availability to try to get to 100 million or more people. A new test has been developed at MIT, and this test is a CRISPR test. And if it can be mass produced, it has demonstrated that it can be very effective at identifying antibodies for this with a test that's probably going to cost something like $3 or $4 and takes only a few minutes for result. It's like a pregnancy test that one can purchase at a pharmacy. So there will be some much better options for testing coming along in the near future. Meanwhile, the virus is spreading rapidly across the United States and now into the rural areas that have been so far uninfected until now. So the US is not done with the problem we have here. It's just really spreading from places like New York, where we now have the virus somewhat under control. The death rates are going down, the hospitalization rates are going down, and they're leveling off and actually dropping here in New York. So we see signs of hope in the future. But it's really way too early to say we can open society up again and not have a complete second wave. Because even here in New York, where 25% of the people may have already been infected and have recovered, that means that something like 70% or so, 70% have not been. And 5% are currently in the hospital or known or are actually being treated for the disease. So there's still 2/3 of the population at risk. The problem we experience, let me just say a word about treatment. I think that Dr. Gupta covered that. There really isn't any successful treatment right now. Remdesivir has had some limited success in reducing the length of hospital stay, but it really only reduced mortality in the first test populations from 11% in the control group to 8% in the Remdesivir group. So it's not a miracle. It's not a panacea. It's a therapeutic improvement, and further testing has to happen. We tested chloroquine here in New York State on thousands of patients, and we discovered that we really didn't see any benefit. We did see at high doses, obviously, the danger we would all expect, which is lengthening of the QT segment and people with arrhythmias that were in some cases fatal. So there really is, as yet, there's a lot of hope, but no therapeutics. So I wanted to mention though that the hospitals here were barraged with patients. It was, I mean, most of my doctor friends here on the front line in the hospitals tell me that in their whole career, they haven't seen as many people die on their watch as they have in the last month. So, you know, it's horrendous. And there are other aspects of this that are concerned because we're losing, hospital workers are off. We've had shortages of workers. So it's a very difficult time for the hospitals. And one of the reasons why we want to keep the public health measures strict and be careful is we need to make sure the healthcare system can adequately treat those who are afflicted with COVID. So now in New York, the hospitals are becoming, they're normalizing, but we still haven't allowed regular patients who come in for elective surgeries to resume those procedures. We probably will in the next few weeks allow elective procedures to occur again. And as I can mention later to you, we're very concerned that many people with myocardial infarction or serious cardiovascular events were too afraid to go to the emergency room and they delayed care. And many of those people may have died without anyone even understanding what was going on, because so many people died at home with COVID who never made it to the hospital and didn't even know they were infected with COVID. So we do have a large number of people in the death numbers that weren't counted as of yet. We also notice very significant disparities in COVID. The people who have to work on the front lines, who have to use public transportation, who work in the supermarkets, who obviously nurses, doctors, and all the frontline people, they're the ones who have been at greatest risk, and they're the ones who have been most infected. In the United States, as compared to China, we've had more young people between the ages of 20 and 60 who were infected, and many died. We're not sure exactly whether that's because of comorbidities. In New York, we saw a significant impact of obesity on people with serious illness, but we're still looking at that. And lately, we're concerned because, as you may have seen the data from Germany that just came out in the last day or two, in which they found that kids were often asymptomatically infected. Germany was looking at whether they could open their schools, and they found that kids are only 1/3 as likely to be infected with COVID. But when you put kids together in a schoolroom and 1/3 of them may be infected and not know it, you easily infect more kids over time because they're in concentrated close quarters. So there's concern about kids being infected. And I'll speak later to you about some of the things we've seen in the United States recently in terms of those admitted to the hospital post-COVID who are kids in serious condition. So I want to talk a little bit about COVID and cardiovascular disease now. You know, cardiovascular disease, as Dr. Gupta mentioned, is a major risk factor. We know that. And there's some evidence that the virus directly attacks in some patients the myocardium and the pericardium. So we see severe myocarditis and pericarditis in some patients, but we also see some direct evidence that the virus may impact even the transmission of the electrical impulses in the cardiovascular space. So we really may see a lot more understanding that this virus does not just attack the lungs, it attacks other organs in the body. But for heart failure and dilated cardiomyopathy, congenital cyanotic heart failure. Clearly, people are at severe risk. And Brugada patients in fever risk also has been seen with COVID. So we're worried about the people with cardiovascular risk, and we're worried about people who are staying home with their cardiovascular problems because they're afraid to come to the emergency room because of COVID. So that's the big question for us. We believe a lot of people have had myocardial infarctions that have gone untreated in poorer parts of New York and New York State. We also know that diabetes and hypertension, which contribute to cardiovascular disease, are adding to the risk for COVID. So anyway, we think 2 to 3% of the patients we've seen in New York among the adults have had some kind of myocardial or pericardial inflammation, thanks to secondary to COVID. COVID can also independently mimic an MI, and this is being studied by a number of patients here, but we should be aware of that. Clearly, the hypoxemia caused in COVID contributes to all these factors. And so we're trying to understand the physiologic aspect of the hypoxemia. It's not necessarily just transmission of oxygen in the alveoli in the lungs. There may actually be some blood dyscrasias that are happening with COVID that contribute to this whole problem. So anyway, and we also have seen now in younger people a mysterious occurrence of strokes and thromboembolic phenomenon in healthy young people with no risk factors who just appear with an embolus or a stroke. And this can be people even in their 20s and 30s. So COVID is a very, very dangerous and unusual organism. In the cardiovascular space, it's rampant. Obviously, people with any kind of risk or symptoms that might relate to that need to have their troponin levels covered because they're elevated with COVID, and people have any kind of a cardiovascular implication or complication. We should be measuring CRP. People who are sent home from an emergency room because they're not in distress should have pulse oximeters to be able to measure when their oxygen levels drop, because that's the only way we're going to know that they need to come back and be treated immediately. Some people deteriorate very rapidly. So having the availability of pulse oximeters is an important way to allow people to be treated safely at home, given how crammed and overcrowded hospitals have become. We have recently seen some interesting and disturbing things in kids, like a Kawasaki-like inflammatory vasculitis with coronary vasculitis. This has occurred in 20 kids in New York, only noted in the last 2 weeks. So we haven't really published these results yet, but I wanted to inform you about that because it's critically important that we think about what we're going to do there. So as I summarize this, and be available later for questions, this is really a test of a healthcare system in every country that COVID strikes. In the U.S., we always think of ourselves as being very, very well prepared in terms of a high quality, well-equipped healthcare system. We found out we did not have enough personal protective equipment for our employees. We still don't. Well, we're better, but we don't. We've converted a lot of factories to start producing PPE, personal protective equipment, but we were way behind. We didn't have enough ventilators. Although, we're now wondering whether ventilators do more harm than good in some patients. So we have to learn more there. But anyway, the healthcare system has really been stressed by this, and it's a great lesson for us. Plus, we have not over the years invested in the public health infrastructure. The CDC, the state and public health agencies that would do contact tracing for us, that would monitor public health factors and help enforce those. We've not invested in public health, and we need to do that in the future. We've learned in the healthcare system, for cardiologists as well as every other specialty, that we need to use telemedicine. It's better if the patient doesn't come into the facility. So we're using telemedicine in a major way. And one wonders whether we're ever going to go back to the way we practiced before. Probably half the patients we see could be managed well with a telemedicine visit rather than a physical in-person visit. So primary care in the US is going to be drastically changed after this. Many primary care doctor practices have actually gone bankrupt because they no longer had patients coming in to keep the business part of their practice going. And the telemedicine side is helpful, but it doesn't necessarily keep them the ability to continue to pay for their staff. So it's really had some dislocations. The other thing that's going on in the U.S. is that there's an amazing public demand now across the country after 7 weeks in New York of social distancing and quarantining to just go back to regular life and take our risks. We're hearing this more and more. That's why I want to get to that Reboot America concept. But I think that physicians around the world need to be part of the leadership of where we go next. If physicians will raise our voices and make sure that we don't move too quickly to release the public health protections that we have, we will flood our healthcare system and overwhelm it, and many people will die needlessly. We're not done with this infection. We will undoubtedly have a second wave in the fall. And if we look back to the 1917 influenza pandemic, the second wave in the fall was when most people died. The spring part of that 1917, 1918 epidemic was bad, but it was the fall when everybody had relaxed and said we're through this, that the worst of that particular pandemic occurred. Obviously, nothing is going to really relax until we truly have a vaccine or we truly have therapies that work, and that's probably off a ways. So it behooves all of us to help be leaders and help in our communities to protect people and protect the healthcare system itself. I'll stop there and wait later for questions, but thank you very much.
Yes, it was a real pleasure to hear from the stalwarts, Dr. Lewin, who spoke a lot about Americans. We'll have questions later on. Just for the interest of the audience who are watching on the Facebook as well as on the Zoom, that we normally we had a Dr. Shieban from Italy, then Dr. Parierra, then Mr. President of CSI, Dr. Das, Dr. PC Rat, TR Raghu, Mansoor Ahmed, Abdul Rashid Khan, P.K. Ashokan, Vivek GUPTA, Madhvi Agarwal, and Pankaj Jeswani. But we are changing the schedule a little, and I would invite our Honorable Mr. Indresh Kumarji to join in because he has to join some other meeting after this. Let me introduce him. He is the important national executive member of RSS, which is a very important and doing a lot of good work for the whole world. He is also the Margdarshak of the Muslim Rashtriya Manch, Muslim Organization of India, which is supported by RSS. So welcome, Dr. Indresh Kumarji. I thank you from my core of my heart for accepting this to join on this webinar for the COVID-19. The whole public, the whole world is suffering. We all are suffering. We are working, all of you, and would like to have your words, whatever way you can help us and guide us.
All present in this webinar professionally are doctors. Basically, I have passed my mechanical engineering from PET Technical University, Chandigarh in 1970. After that, I dedicated my whole energy for the upliftment of the nation and of the world. My 50 years experiences of the society, I will speak in 2 languages. If I will speak in 1 language, people will call me that you are a fundamentalist. World is multi-linguistic, multi-religion, multi-civilization, multi-caste, and multi-geography. So I will speak in Latin and English, and secondly, something in Hindi. First of all, I thanks for your invitation by Dr. Vivek GUPTA to participate and listen the 2 Dr. Vivek GUPTA and one is speaking this time, the doctor. I have listened them. Now I will say some very few points. The COVID-19 coronavirus, it is not a virus from the nature. It is virus by man. It is a man-made virus. So first we must know his origin, then and then treatment can be there. When the man is developing that virus, it becomes out of control to that expert, to that scientist, to that doctors, which covers the whole world. Second is, so to understand its culture and chemistry is not so difficult, but it is also so difficult. The virus is unnatural and man-made virus, which becomes uncontrolled to the man. Second, because it has no limits, no boundaries, so he covered the whole world. No country, no religion, no linguistic, no geography, no civilization is out of attack from that virus. Nobody knows its chemistry, nobody knows its culture. When we don't know the culture and chemistry, how we will treat that virus, so we understood that there are so many type of viruses there. The common history from the virus, the common problem from the virus which comes, उसको खांसी होता है, जुकाम होता है, फीवर होता है, ऐसी कुछ चीजों में से वो वायरस दिखाई देता है, उसी पर से दुनिया इसका ट्रीटमेंट कर रही है. एक अगली बात जो कहूंगा, इसलिए आप सब डॉक्टर से, इट इज माय रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑल ऑफ यू, try to understand the culture and chemistry of that virus is the basic need. Third point which I want to deliver all of you, this virus made the world that you are a common family or you must act as a one family. No educational policies, no things which can control that virus. It attacked capitalism also, socialism also, democracy also. It attacked the most development cities and countries and most backward cities and countries of the world. It acted on the, it have a aggression on the which are most development, literate, highly profile in values. They are also under threat from that virus. So I request all of you, the experts for the medicine, medical system. So I will call you शैतान से, वायरस से. और आज जो है, क्या जो दुनिया रिलीजियस, कास्ट, सिविलाइजेशन, लैंग्विस्टिक, ज्योग्राफी आदि आदि में अपने आप को डिवाइडेड करके रखा हुआ है, क्या वो इस बात के लिए तैयार होंगे कि वी आर ए वन, वी आर फ्रॉम अल्लाह, खुदा, ईश्वर, परमेश्वर, वी ऑल आर मैन. So treatment of the man is the need, not of the country. आदमी से ही उसको खतरा हुआ है. इसलिए प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट फ्रॉम गॉड, प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट फॉर नेचर, फ्रॉम नेचर. प्रॉब्लम इज क्रिएटेड बाय द मैन and it is faced by the man, humanity of the world. Man is the of the world, उसको डील करना है. इसलिए when I was studying in my engineering, I am talking 50 years before, when I was in engineering college, I have learned a one phrase: if the problem is man-made, definitely it has a solution from the man. तो कोरोना कोविड वायरस प्रॉब्लम इज फ्रॉम द मैन. वो मैन सज्जन नहीं है, शैतान है. वो आदमी इन ह्यूमन वैल्यूज का है, जिन्होंने इसको कोलेक्टिवली डेवलप करने की कोशिश की या इंडिविजुअली डेवलप करने की कोशिश की, और फेस सारे दुनिया के इंसानियत को और इंसान को करना पड़ रहा है। तो वी शुड गिव इंश्योरेंस टू द वर्ल्ड कि यह आदमियों के द्वारा पैदा की गई प्रॉब्लम है। इट हैज ए डेफिनेट सोल्यूशन फ्रॉम द मैन। और इसलिए आप विश्व के सब चिकित्सकों को, किसी भी पद्धति के हों, उसको आह्वान करिए कि आओ सब मिलकर इस उपचार कैसे करें। 1 पॉइंट 2 पॉइंट और बोलकर मैं अपना भाषण समाप्त कर दूंगा, वक्तव्य रोक दूंगा। और वो ये है, आज तक जितनी भी दुनिया की पैथीज है, वह जब आदमी में कोई वायरस आता है और हमला करती है और बीमारी आती है, तब वो आदमी के वायरस को ट्रीट करती है और आदमी को ट्रीट करती है। अभी तक दुनिया की किसी भी पैथी के पास टू ट्रीट द एनवायरमेंट, टू ट्रीट द नेचर, इसलिए मैं कहा करता हूं, मैं अपने कमरे में और मकान में बीमार हूं, डॉक्टर आएगा किसी भी पैथी का, वो मुझे ट्रीट करेगा, पर मेरे कमरे को, मेरे मकान को, मेरी सीढ़ियों को, मेरे एनवायरनमेंट को कभी ट्रीट नहीं करता है। इसलिए दुनिया के अंदर जितनी भी पैथीज और उसके चिकित्सक का नंबर तुलनात्मक बड़ा है, उसके अनुसार ही बीमारियों का फैलाव भी बड़ा है। कि किसी भी पैथी ने ह्यूमन ट्रीटमेंट के बाद जो उसका एनवायरनमेंट है, उसके ट्रीटमेंट के लिए कोई सिस्टम नहीं है। भारत ने विश्व को सारे एनवायरनमेंट को ट्रीटमेंट करने के लिए एक सिस्टम दिया था, जिसको कहते थे ईश्वर को स्मरण करना निर्मल मन से और पवित्र शरीर से, और उसी के साथ साथ होम हवन करना। इसके अतिरिक्त पूरी दुनिया में पूरे एनवायरनमेंट को ट्रीटमेंट करने के लिए बीमार आदमी जिस घर में है, जिस एनवायरनमेंट में है, जिस गली मोहल्ले में है, जिस राज्य में है, जिस देश में है, उसके टोटल एनवायरनमेंट को ट्रीट करने के लिए आज तक कोई मेडिकल सिस्टम नहीं है। आज तक उसके लिए कोई मेडिसिन नहीं है। मैं ये दावे के साथ भी कह रहा हूं और आप सबको सामने भी कह रहा हूं। और इसलिए आज कोरोना ने मुझे और आपको ये समझाया है, ट्रीट द मैन बट नॉट ओनली द मैन, ट्रीट द एनवायरनमेंट, ट्रीट द एटमॉस्फेयर, ट्रीट द हैबिट्स आल्सो। अगर ये नहीं होंगी तो दुनिया के अंदर इस पनपते रहेंगे। ये मैन मेड नहीं होता, नेचर मेड होता तो शायद सारी दुनिया को नहीं खाता। यह वायरस मैन मेड है, इसलिए आदमी से आदमी में कहां कहां और सारी दुनिया को ग्रस्त कर लिया। अगर ये प्रकृति से वायरस होता तो डेफिनेटली बड़ी जल्दी भी पकड़ में आ जाता और समझ में आ जाता और सारे विश्व के अंदर नहीं फैलता। इसलिए मैं इसको डेफिनेट नहीं कर रहा हूं, परंतु एक डायरेक्शन में आपके सामने बात को रख जरूर रहा हूं। और इस बात को ध्यान में रख कर करें, एक अंत में बात कहूंगा कि हम सस्टेनेबल, जिसमें तप है, त्याग है, व्रत है, उपवास है, ग्रीड्स नहीं है, नीड्स हैं। दुर्भाग्य से पिछले 100 वर्षों में विश्व वो नीड से निकल ग्रीड्स को नीड्स में कन्वर्ट कर गया। और इसलिए आज विश्व के अंदर चाहे डेवलपमेंट मॉडल है, चाहे उसका ट्रीटमेंट मॉडल है, वह आदमी के ग्रीड्स को ट्रीट करता है। और आदमी की ग्रीड्स कभी खत्म नहीं होती है और नीड्स को ट्रीटमेंट नहीं कर पाता है, क्योंकि मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट एंड ट्रीटमेंट जो है, टू सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम जो है, उसका बेसिक लाइन जो है वो ग्रीड्स हो गया है, नीड्स नहीं है। जब ग्रीड्स नीड्स में बदलती हैं तो करप्शन बढ़ता है, क्राइम बढ़ता है, वायरस बढ़ता है, डिसीजेस फैलते हैं, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स बढ़ते हैं। इसलिए शिक्षित विकसित विश्व होने के बावजूद भी अंडर ए परमानेंट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स है। वो किसी भी तरह के कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स होते हैं, शरीर के, मन के, बुद्धि के, डोमिनेशन के, इसमें है। इसलिए क्या मेडिकल आप सब डॉक्टर मिलकर दुनिया के सामने हैप्पीनेस मॉडल, ट्रीटमेंट मॉडल, डेवलपमेंट मॉडल, फिजिकली फिटनेस वाला मॉडल, यह बेसिकली नीड्स केंद्रित होगा, ग्रीड्स पर नहीं जाएगा। अगर ग्रीड्स पर जाएगा तो हम कितना भी जोर लगाएंगे हमें सफल। इसलिए कहा जाता है कि बेस्ट द मैन इज यूज डेवलपमेंट के सिस्टम में कहा गया है कि जब वो अपने अंदर का आदमी बेस्ट यूज करता है तो टेक्नोलॉजी, ट्रीटमेंट, डेवलपमेंट के सिस्टम नए नए जन्म देता है। फिर वो उनका स्लेव हो जाता है, क्योंकि वो ग्रीड्स होती है, नीड्स नहीं होती है। फिर वो ग्रीड्स का स्लेव होता है। फिर वही आदमी इंसानियत को मारने का काम करता है। कोरोना वायरस जिनकी ग्रीड्स नीड्स को क्रॉस कर चुकी थी, उन्हीं सभ्यताओं, देशों और एक्सपर्ट्स का पैदा किया गया वायरस है। यह वायरस इस नेचर का है। आप सब बहुत बुद्धिमान हैं, समझदार हैं। मैंने भी जो कुछ दुनिया के 70-72 साल की आयु के अंदर विश्व का तरह तरह का भ्रमण करते हुए आप सब विद्वानों के बीच में बैठते उठते जो कुछ समझ में आया, मैंने उसको रखा है। और इसलिए जब ग्रीड्स बढ़ती हैं तो फिर भोगवाद बढ़ता है। जब नीड्स में वो परिवर्तित होकर नियंत्रित होता है तब स्पिरिचुअलिज्म बढ़ता है। और इसलिए दुनिया को आप वो हेल्थ सिस्टम दीजिए जिसके कारण ग्रीड्स और भोगवाद से निकलकर नीड्स और स्पिरिचुअलिज्म की तरफ आदमी चले। तो आई होप सो हम कोरोना को विश्व में से भगा सकेंगे, मार सकेंगे। और इसलिए जो इस समय में डेवलपमेंट हो वो डेवलपमेंट्स का बिजनेस नहीं हो, बल्कि वह सर्विस के रूप में हो। मास्क बिजनेस में नहीं बिके, सर्विस के रूप में वह वितरित किया जाए। क्वारंटाइन और तरह तरह की साबुन और तरह तरह के और हाथ धोने साफ करने के मटेरियल है, इनका व्यापार नहीं हो, इसकी सर्विस हो, ताकि ये सर्विस दुनिया को दी जाए। जब किट बने तो किट का व्यापार नहीं हो। भारत ने जब किट दुनिया को दी, केवल अमेरिका नहीं और भी देशों को, व्यापार और बिजनेस नहीं किया। जबकि चीन ने व्यापार और बिजनेस किया, दुनिया के और भी देशों ने बिजनेस किया। सर्विसेज should never be converted into a business, it is always be remained service। तो इस प्रकार से होगा। और इसलिए जब भारत ने दुनिया को कहा कपड़े का मास्क, तो जितने मास्क थे जो यूज एंड थ्रो थे वो सब डस्टबिन में चले गए। एक नया सिस्टम आ गया दुनिया के सामने। और इसलिए भारत में पिछले 1 महीने में सोशल सर्विस के अंदर लगभग 50 लाख मास्क प्रिपेयर हुए कपड़ों के और वितरित हुए। कोई हाहाकार नहीं मचा। आज मास्क बहुत बड़ी नीड नहीं रही। जो ग्रीड थी मास्क की, वो जब नीड में कन्वर्ट हुई तो उसका सर्विस यूटिलिटी बनी। मुझे डॉक्टर विवेक जी ने आप सबसे कुछ मिनट बात करने के लिए दिया। मैंने आपके सामने कुछ अपने मन की बात कही है, इस विश्वास के साथ द वर्ल्ड इज लुकिंग टूवर्ड्स यू एज ए सोसाइटी, एज ए ह्यूमैनिटी, एज ए डॉक्टर टू सेव द वर्ल्ड फ्रॉम दिस वायरस। बट बी प्लीज, I have also given some points to you. Some can be accepted, some can be rejected, and some can be on debate. But I hope so when you will work for needs. और दुनिया को बताएगा डॉक्टर, टीचर जब कहता था बच्चा ये चीज लेकर आ, ये जरूरी है पढ़ाई के लिए, जब डॉक्टर कहेगा कि ये ग्रीड में मत जी, नीड तेरी जरूरत है, तो फिर एक्सप्लॉइटेशन ऑफ मेडिकल सिस्टम नहीं होगा, क्योंकि एक ही प्रोफेशन है जिसको नोबल कहा गया, इसकी नोबल इंटर जो इसका हार्ट माइंड एंड सोल है, इस प्रोफेशन का नोबल ही बना रहे। इसके लिए आप सब बड़े बड़े विद्वानों और विशेषज्ञों को मैं बहुत 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 बधाई देता हूं। आपने मेरी फालतू की बकवास सुनी, इसके लिए भी आप सबको बहुत 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 धन्यवाद और बधाई।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। बहुत ही बढ़िया आपका मैसेज, और खास करके जो आपने ग्रीड और नीड वाली बात कही है, जो आम पब्लिक के लिए बहुत बड़ा मैसेज है। अगर हम केवल नीड अपनी पूरी करते रहे और ग्रीड ना आए तो कोई परेशानी नहीं होगी, राम राज्य आ जाएगा, और राम राज्य जैसे ही आएगा वैसे ही पूरा विश्व ठीक हो जाएगा, क्योंकि इतने पैसा, इतना धन पूरा संचित है अलग अलग जगह में, जो कि गरीब आदमी के लिए नहीं इस्तेमाल हो पा रहा है। So Abhi, I would request the Honorable Indresh ji if you can stay back or come back after some time, because we have many good speakers also. Let me introduce once again to tell you the timing of this. We have Dr. Shieban from Italy, then Dr. Parierra from Portugal, then Dr. M.K. Das, who is the president of CSI, to come, then Dr. P.C. Rath, Dr. Raghu, Dr. Mansoor Ahmed from Pakistan, Dr. Ashokan, Vivek GUPTA and Madhvi Agarwal ji will give social message in between. So I will now switch over to Mr. Dr. Shieban from Italy, and I'm thanking you, all the speakers who are staying here, especially from Madhvi Agarwal is a BJP executive from Kolkata, Ashokan is from Kerala, Shieban. So I will now go directly to Dr. Shieban to start his talk, and then we'll take Dr. M.K. Das or Dr. Helder Parierra. I will look into this. Dr. Helder Parierra is a very good friend from Portugal, Lisbon. So let me talk to Dr. Shieban. I'm putting him live now, and he will give his deliberation. He's a very important interventional cardiologist. We have done very complex cases with him in Apollo Delhi as well. And he's a fine gentleman. He has been working in interventional cardiology, a lot of research work. He has been appreciated. He's traveling all over the world. And he is almost half Indian, because he comes quite frequently to India. But doesn't matter, but he's a good friend and good man. That's most important. Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Shieban.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be with you here. To exchange experience, and actually almost all issues was covered by you and Dr. Lewin about COVID-19, and I think it is not good to repeat things. However, I just want to make my speech very short, because we don't have that much time. Telling you about the situation in Italy. I think the same scenario is repeated everywhere, and the extension or the spread of the disease is depending on mostly on the gap between the initial phase and the lockdown. And I think that is very important to know everywhere. The states who locked down before, very early, they will have less spread of the infection. However, I would like also to add something about cardiovascular events, particularly what we have experienced in my field, in intervention cardiology. What we have seen, first of all, we have ACS patient reduced by half. That means we have seen really very less ACS, emergency. And this might be due to the fear of people to come to the hospital, or those people who came to the hospital, they came very late. They came after hours from initial symptoms, cardiovascular symptoms. So that makes our job very difficult. And the second thing, that even if they are coming quickly, there is some gap between their time of there's a prolongation of the time between the initial symptom and the opening the artery. That because of protection preparing in the cath lab, That's because of the pathways are changed in the hospitals. And so this makes our job very difficult. The most important thing is that to know and to underline is that in situation, if you are still in the ascending phase or in the infection phase, you should consider every patient coming to your cath lab as infected, as COVID positive. And you have to take protection level 3, in order to be sure that you are not be infected and you will not contribute to spread more and more the infection. This is one. Second, I think it is very important to know that some of these people, even if they are experiencing severe symptoms, and I mean with acute myocardial infarction, with severe pneumonia, I think it is better not to go to a cath lab even with these people, because you will lose the patient for sure at the table. So this is another recommendation, that severely infected patient with pneumonia, with severe pneumonia, should not be brought to the emergency room, I mean to cath lab. I would like to say also that in many situations, I think thrombolysis can be indicated more than angioplasty in these cases. Now, what we have experienced in Italy, what is the situation now in Italy, that we started this week to come out from the lockdown, gradually, of course, but I think we all should know that virus is here to stay. We will not disappear. So our life will be changed, and we should take care about all precaution to be protected when every time we are going outside of our home. This is very important issue, and this is very important point to underline everywhere. About therapies, vaccines, and everything, I think have been covered already. But I think that within vaccine to be tested and to be effective, I mean to be spread over for the population, it takes time. It takes more than 1 year. I think maybe within the first month of next year, we'll be ready with vaccines. That because all vaccines now are still in phase 1, phase 2, and this takes time to test safety, efficacy, dosage, manufacturing, and distribution. And this will take time. This will not be very, very early. So again, I think I'm not going to repeat things about cardiovascular manifestation. Same thing we have observed also here in Italy, as Dr. Lewin have been reporting before. So I'll stop here, and maybe discussion will be much more useful.
Thank you very much, Imad, for a nice and short and very useful talk for our audience, which is going on Facebook Live at 2 places. One is Indians in Paris, which is 25,000 people, and our own Facebook Live. So thank you very much. I will now invite, so I will just repeat that after Dr. Helder Parierra, who's from Portugal, we'll have Dr. M.K. Das, who's the CSI president, and then Madhvi Agarwal, if she's available as a part of BJP, and then Dr. P.C. Rath and other people from Karachi. So let me invite, thank you very much, Dr. Ibash, but you should stay on if you have time. It will be my pleasure that we'll have questions later on. And it's very important topic, and we have to have people around. So may I request Dr. Helder Parierra to please join in, and he's our friend for a long time. And he works in Lisbon, and it's a very nice city in Portugal. And please introduce further. We are friends for last 15 to 20 years, and we'll do Indo-European course soon in Portugal with yourself and Fausto Pinto.
Yes, thank you very much, Vivek. It is a pleasure to be here with you. In Portugal, as COVID arrived relatively late, it started. We learned a lot from the Italian and Spanish experiences. I'd like very much to hear from Shieban their experiences. and it helps us a lot because as soon as the first case appeared, we locked down the country and started to prepare the hospitals for COVID, creating different circuits, increasing the intensive care bed units. My hospital is 550 beds with he had only 17 intensive care beds. Now we have 44 intensive care beds with ventilation capacity. So we increased a lot the capacity for ventilation. Fortunately, these extra beds were not necessary. And just today, we have only 4 COVID patients at the intensive care and only 1 ventilated and no deaths. So as you can see, our system is not overwhelmed, and okay, for us is not comparable with the experience of the Italians, French, and the Spanish colleagues. This week we started reopening the country, and we hope not having a second wave, even worse than this. I don't know. I see a lot of people at the streets, and we'll see what will going to happen. As in majority of the cases here in Portugal, the number of acute coronary cases decreased a lot, but now they are returning, and the STEMI patients are, I think that last week almost the usual. For my department, you could see for the other departments in our country, the present major problem is starting the routine again, because a lot of nurses went to other wards or unities, and it's real difficult to start the routine. And I'm concerned with the no COVID patients with cardiovascular disease, and all the logistic is much more difficult because of the cleaning times, this kind of things. So in summary, what you learn a lot with others. We are not ever overwhelmed. You are very quiet, and hoping not having a second in the worst way. So I'm here to hearing from you our experiences and applying it, and hoping that your countries doesn't. I think that in India we are not with a big problem now for the number of the patients, the population that you have. We are 10 millions, and in the acute care unit we had the maximum 500 patients, and now less than 120, I think. So till now it's relatively quiet.
Helder, for giving a very nice introduction, but I'm a little surprised. We'll take questions later on that the lockdown is completely finished in your country.
No, not completely. You are starting opening slowly, but the small shops start opening, of course, with a lot of regulations, with the social distances, with the masks and so on. The schools are opening for small children and for the pre-university students. And the clinics, private clinics, are also opening with special rules. But we are opening. There is a lot of telework as a very interesting thing, a very experience, like for all of us. As John said, it was the telemedicine. You are doing telemedicine at the hospital, and it's something that probably will stay for the future. It is an experience. Even our meetings with colleagues, the regular meetings at the hospital, we are doing by Zoom, and it works very well.
I understand that we have to really open up, but my concern would be we'll take comments from Dr. Jack Lewin later on and Dr. Shieban. But I feel that I think we are doing little fast. We are doing little hastening up the lockdown because especially in Delhi, you said, I told you in India, we had 4,000 cases in one day. Okay, we go now on to the next speaker. Thank you, Dr. Helder, and thank you, Dr. Lewin, to stay by, because we left very important questions from both, especially from US as well as from Italy, later on with a lot of other people joining in. But let us have the Dr. Nalan Kanti Das. He's a president of Cardiological Society of India. As you know, Cardiological Society of India has a huge number of members, and it's one of the largest society of cardiologists. We have a yearly meeting in December, and he's the president of Cardiological Society of India. He's working in Kolkata. He's an interventional cardiologist with large experience. So let us thank you very much, Dr. Khan, to be a part of this webinar. And I request you now to show your presentation, and then we'll move on to other speakers. Thank you, Dr. Das. Please continue. Oh, sorry, I have to unmute you. Yes, sorry. We can hear you. Okay, can you speak now? We have. Just a minute. There is some. We are not able to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes, okay, fine.
Can you see the slide? Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see the slides. We can see our Honorable Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Aggressive and positive mood. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for calling me to this important meeting. Actually, we were involved. The Cardiological Society of India was involved right from the beginning. In fact, just before the lockdown was called, we were in the meeting with our Prime Minister. Thanks to the Prime Minister for giving us the chance to give our opinion. In fact, the role of Cardiological Society of India in COVID-19, so far we have done actually, these are some of the works we have done so far from Cardiological Society of India. We have given the, the document which was given by the World Hypertension League regarding the hypertension, and we endorsed the whole document. That was given almost just in the last week of March. Now, in the first week of April, we gave the documents related to the Cardiological Society of India document on acute myocardial infarction management. And later on, we also added the guidance from Cardiological Society of India on the heart failure. So for the Cardiological Society of India actually has given some of the documents based on our experience, which are mostly from the China as well as Italy. Of course, then later on the American College of Cardiology, European Society of Cardiology, they also joined to give us more insight. Now, from Cardiological Society of India, we offered almost 30 lakh of rupees to the PM Cares Fund, and we also organized the Presidential Conclave CSI Executive
Sorry, just a small hit. We are losing the not connection, but unmuting him.
No sound.
Yeah, we are just doing it. We just yes. Okay.
Can you hear?
Now we can hear you. There was some background noise, so we muted everybody. Then we unmuted you. Now.
Okay. Now, so for the CSI document on myocardial infarction is concerned, you know, the myocardial infarction is a very, very important cause of very early death in our country as compared to the Western counterparts. It occurs almost 10 to 20 years ahead of time. And that is why we thought that it will be very important to find a document which will take care of acute myocardial infarction in this scenario. Now, what we actually decided that we will not deviate from our main document, the main position guideline, but the challenges of the COVID actually were very much in prominence because of the fact that the heterogeneity in the country, so far the geography and the economy is concerned, was always hindering our management of acute myocardial infarction to a great extent, especially because of the time lag of the patients reaching to the primary PCI center. So we thought that due to the lockdown itself, there could be much more problem for the patients to come over to the PCI care center. At least they could have been taken care of in the primary healthcare center or district level healthcare center. So we considering that challenge in COVID, we thought that we should give the benefit of doubt to all the patients. And we screened we asked our doctors to screen all patients and to screen the respiratory status. And also we divided the groups of myocardial infarction into 3 groups, mainly Group A, Group B, and Group C. And the Group A and Group B were mostly the COVID positive and COVID suspect patient, and Group C was a low clinical probability of the myocardial infarction patient. Now this when we wrote the document, actually we were in this state. Now possibly we are in we are taking care of mostly about the Group A and Group B, where confirmed cases of COVID and suspected COVID-19 patients are being taken care of. And as the doctor from Dr. Shieban has already told, that now we should take all the patients of acute myocardial infarction to be of COVID suspect, unless and until it is proved otherwise, and we should take the patient accordingly, according to the hemodynamic status, according to the thrombolytic therapy that has been given earlier. And if the thrombolytic therapy fails, then possibly we should we ask for the PCI to be adopted. Because if the patient is quite at far and he is in the hub and spoke type of management schedule, then possibly the thrombolytic therapy was enough to take care of the patient. And in our experience, almost 60 to 70% patients can be taken care of by thrombolytic therapy. However, if the patient can reach the primary PCI care center, then definitely within time the primary PCI was as recommended as the treatment of choice. So we formed a sort of algorithm where both the confirmed and suspected cases were together and the low probability cases were on the other group. And we recommended that the primary PCI is to be taken out actually when all the PP facilities are available and we have actually failed, or the patient was very much unstable. So that is our recommendation for AMI from Cardiological Society's point of view. Now, what is the status of the acute coronary syndrome as well as the other groups of patients, especially the stable coronary artery syndrome with symptoms or heavy load of ischemia? Then we thought that the ischemia trial actually has given a lot of insight, and we should take care of the patients more or less with the medical management in those group of patients. And if the patient really again becomes unstable or becomes more symptomatic, then they can be taken up with all the cares that are to be taken for taken up for the PCI or other kind of methods of treatment, interventional treatment. Now, this is very, very important slide, that the personal protection equipment must be there, and hand washing is a very, very important thing which we must follow. And we recommended that protect yourself first. Appropriate PPE is of paramount importance, and all the investigations should be done much more precaution and with a lot of emphasis on the taking care of the primary protection device. And definitely we must take the investigations not to the maximum level, just to the level which will be very much important for us. So for the drugs are concerned, already Dr. Vivek Gupta has told beautifully, but for our cardiac patients, one thing I would stress that the
There is some video. There is some video problem at Dr. Das' place, MK Das' place. We are waiting. Dr. Das, can you hear me? Can you hear us? Something gone wrong at his connection level. So I'm stopping video and restarting. We can see the slide, but it's not moving. We'll restart his video and let us see. Yeah, Dr. Das, can you hear us? Yeah, we can see you now. Something went wrong. Can you hear me?
Not hearing, but video is there.
Just a minute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Actually, you became, your face was frozen actually. So we were not able to see the slides. So that's why we had to restart the video then. Okay, so are you going to presentation again or you would like to summarize now?
No. I will just end with my summary comment that actually, so whether it is AMI, whether it is SCS, whether it is stable coronary artery disease, we must take into account all the measures when the interventions are concerned, and we must give the benefit of the medical therapy, optimal medical therapy and guideline mediated therapy to the maximum to give the patients the benefit of the medical therapy. And lastly, I will just comment by telling one of the songs which I have written regarding the boosting up of the sagging, the sentiment of the people, that we must not forget that we are human beings. We have got intelligence. That's why I wrote that common करुणा से डर नहीं. We have all the stocks and we can actually take care of the hawks. Come on with the करुणा से डर नहीं. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Niralkanti Das from Kolkata for giving the CSI perspective and whatever you have given a sort of a draft to the Honorable Prime Minister, to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to fight against this COVID-19, which is still a problem for India at least, and the whole of the world, I would say. So I really would request all the speakers to stay back, and we would have as a sequence, Dr. P.C. Rath to share his few brief comments. Dr. P.C. Rath, are you listening? Dr. P.C. Rath, let me see, where is he? Yes, Dr. P.C. Rath, I'm unmuting him. He's from Hyderabad, Apollo Hospital. He's our friend for a long time and a collaborator of IECR from beginning when we did the first meeting in 2008 in Vigyan Bhavan. We are doing it with Professor Alan Crebier, and we've done out of India as well as in India. Dr. P.C. Rath, your comments this time again.
Good evening to all of you. So thank you, Dr. Shieban, Dr. Lewin, and Dr. Das for the excellent presentation, especially Dr. Das for giving CSI views on managing these acute coronary syndromes during the COVID era. I have a question to Dr. Shieban and Dr. Lewin about antibody testing. You know, we started here in India and then it was withdrawn because of the poor quality, whatever it is. Just wanted to know how are they, what the antibody testing they are doing with what, which company kits, and how effective it is, how it is useful. Basically, we got it from China. It was not that reliable, so it was withdrawn. And I want to know what they used in USA and Italy, from which company and which country these kits,
Okay.
antibody testing kits.
I can answer that. The University of California, San Francisco, and the University of California, Berkeley, actually did a comparative quality assurance evaluation of all tests that have been approved by the FDA, and that was more than 30 different tests. There are more coming, but in the course, one of the companies was called Safe in the U.S. Safe Test actually had 100% accuracy for an antibody at 21 days. It had something like 88% accuracy at 14 days. All the antibody tests take a while to demonstrate the antibodies. So it takes at least 7 days before even the IgM shows up in most of these tests. But by 21 days, you can get to close to 100% accuracy for IgM and IgG, with several tests that they demonstrated had the highest quality. I can forward that information to Dr. Gupta. He could circulate it to everybody. If you
I will be happy to know this information, because it will be useful for passing on this information to the government to procure the right type of kits. And in Italy, just wanted to know how popular is this antibody test in Italy? Are you using it routinely?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
Please.
In Italy, how popular is this antibody test? Are you using it routinely?
Well, actually, I've been, there is now in this phase, second phase, is going to be much more popular than the first phase. That means it will be extended to most of population. First, we started with healthcare personnel. That means all personnel working in the hospital should be tested and start to be tested. And then this will be extended to the whole population. But the problem is to test the reliability of these tests. That means what we are using is IgM and IgG tests, serological tests. And we do not have that much data supporting the efficacy, the reliability of these tests. And I think we are in experimental phase, and we are looking to have more and more data. But in the meantime, this should be tested on the population, and this will give us more and more data to be supported by.
Yeah, it makes sense to test it in the healthcare professional, so that at least you know who are the carriers or who are infected.
Exactly, yeah.
So that you can treat them. Thank you very much, Dr. Sir. Dr. Vivek.
सर आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है डॉक्टर साहब आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है
We can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. So thank you, Dr. PC Rath, for giving the insights. It's very important for questions to be asked, and I thank all the speakers to stay by, and I really appreciate. At this point of time, Dr. PC Rath has been there instrumental, and he gave a presentation on cardiovascular manifestation of COVID-19 on 15th of April, when Dr. Francisco Romeo and Dr. Bernardo Cortez were there. That was the only Italian cardiologist. That was 15th April. Then Dr. Greg Stone was there on 20th April. So I'm changing the sequence. Normally at this point of time, we'll have Dr. T.R. Raghu, who is the ICC president, but I'm changing the sequence. Madam Miss Madhvi Agarwal, she is an important person from BJP, and I would like her to come because she has to go on a television on Sudarshan TV. So she has requested me to come live, and she can share her views after introducing herself, her position in the BJP in Kolkata. She's from Kolkata, and our friends from BJP, otherwise also a nice person. Please introduce yourself and then give a brief message, for a social message for the COVID-19, how to tackle.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for inviting me on this online discussion of COVID-19. The outbreak of coronavirus was a really unexpected incident that happened, and everyone throughout the world has been putting in so much to fight against the outbreak. We are going through really tough times, and it is necessary for all of us to know the facts as well as maintain social distancing effectively. I hope that this situation is over soon and things go back to normal. This is a lesson for all of us, and we should realize the importance of things we have been taking granted for such a long time. Because so many doctors are present here, so I have a question to all of you. Many countries are have been claiming that the vaccine is already out, or they are testing it right now before actually using on everyone. So is it true or not? Are you getting my voice? Hello?
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because of so many doctors are present here, so I have a question to all of you. Many countries have been claiming that the vaccine is already out, or they are testing is right now. So is it true? Is it possible? इतनी जल्दी हो सकता है क्या लोग क्योंकि वेट कर रहे हैं इस गुड न्यूज का?
I'd say from the U.S., this is Jack Lewin. We
Sure, please.
We really don't know how soon we will get this. We have so many studies underway, and many have international academic institutions that are actually collaborating together. The earliest we hear is that there may be some human trials beginning in late summer, and it's possible in the very fastest of options that we would have a vaccine available sometime in the fall. We do not know how long it will take to actually produce it. If the vaccine was successful, how long it would take to produce it, to provide it to billions of people who need it. So it's probably going to be more like a year from now before we're able to, at the earliest, to have an available vaccine. But we're trying for sooner.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, because I'm getting late. So thank you so much for inviting me on this online discussion. It was a great opportunity to speak in front of everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta.
भाई साहब नमस्कार.
Dr. Gupta, someone has shared his or her screen here. So you please ask them to remove. Dr. M.K. Das' screen is coming.
And we can't hear you, Gupta.
Asmita?
Vivek, we can't hear you, Vivek.
Dr. M.K. Das, would you like to share some views? You have shared your screen. So everybody is watching the screen. Nobody is watching the Dr. Lewin or myself. So would you like to comment something, or would you like to stop sharing your screen, please?
I have already stopped sharing the screen.
You stop sharing the screen? Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Do you want to comment something because you want to show something on vaccine?
No, I don't have any issue.
Okay, I wanted Dr. Shieban to come in and discuss about the Italian vaccine, which is coming in the news every day, especially today. So what is your idea about this vaccine, which has been shown as in media, very much hype in India, especially?
Actually, it is not my idea. What I know and what is known, well known, is that we are still in phase 1. Phase 1, phase 2. That means we are at a very beginning to have a vaccine, effective vaccine. That means we are in the investigating phase, and this will take time, at least 1 year, at least. So taking consideration they started in March, I think within next March, we will be ready with the vaccine.
Okay, thank you very much. And this will be a very problematic because there was a news, especially there was a idea of some scientists that till the vaccine is available, we have to be in partial lockdown. And this is very important unless we have a very breakthrough medicine which can be actually antivirus, killing the virus immediately, like what we have now for H1 for HIV. So
to my knowledge, there are more than 10 vaccines under investigations.
Which will take at least 6 months to 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We go on to Dr. T.R. Raghu as per this information. And then I can see Dr. Hari Sharma also from Holland. We'll invite him later on. But in the meantime, Dr. Raghu, are you available here? Because we just spoke and then I cannot see him now. So what about Dr. Mansoor? Next in line will be Dr. Mansoor Ahmed. He's a friend from Pakistan to have his brief comments before we go back to Dr. T.R. Raghu. Dr. Mansoor Ahmed, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are very well audible, loud and clear. Please continue and with a few minutes of Pakistan approach in this pandemic.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier. This pandemic somehow is creeping in the society, and the number is increasing by the days. The mortality is increasing. The infected population is increasing, and sadly, we have had a couple of medical professionals who lost their battle and those whom I have known. So it's been very disturbing last couple of days. But in any case, I think there is no point repeating so much about this virus. One thing is very impressive, that medical community is so dynamic. The data is coming out every day, new statistics are coming out every day, and all specialties, irrespective of whatever we belong to. For example, I'm a cardiologist, but all of us are taking interest, not just in treatment because we have no treatment, but in its prevention. Lockdown seems to have slowed down the progress of this infection, at least in our country here. It's not as rapid as we have seen in Europe or North America, but still, it's a lethal disease, spreads very fast, and still out of hand. So we need to work hard to prevent it. And it's really terrifying to note, as has been pointed out, nearly 25% of New York population is estimated to have been infected already, which means these carriers will be going round and round and round, and will continue to infect the rest of the population. And I guess the same in our cities, which are more crowded. And of course, living standards are not as high. Public transport is used by majority. So let's hope this second rise will not come. In fact, we are still waiting for the first rise, and let's hope it doesn't, it's not seen. Same thing, the data from India is almost the same. But in any case, I think there's encouraging news about the vaccine, the remdesivir, but sadly, hydrochloroquine so far, which we hailed so much because it's so commonly used in our part of the world. We thought we probably are protected and will protect ourselves further by using it. But sadly, it hasn't shown any positive results so far. I think I have enjoyed this meeting. I've really enjoyed the talks of Dr. John Lewin and Shieban. Actually, Italian experience actually intrigued me. Do you have any specific data on the postmortems, or any postmortem has been performed, or they are just put away? The bodies are put away without looking into it at all.
Asmita?
About the postmortem, has any postmortem been performed in significant numbers? Sorry, I can't hear you. Dr. Ahmad.
Yes, to my knowledge, we do not have that much data on postmortem. patient.
Which is very sad, really.
Yeah. That is because that's because the load of patient, I mean, at the peak time was really very high, and all medical resources here were very few relatively to the number of people dying and having severe symptoms.
Because that will tell us so much more about the pathophysiology of the disease and its progress.
Yeah. Well, actually, what is going on now is to study the epidemiology of the disease among people, among different regions in Italy. And we are collecting these data and will be the support of tests and serological tests also will be fundamental to have more and more data about the spread of the disease and the epidemiological data. About virus, I think what we need is more the effective vaccine. That is the main thing to have, because we know that virus is here to stay with us and we have to live with, and we have to be prepared to protect ourselves. That means to create immunity against by vaccine. That is the main thing to do. But unfortunately, it takes time.
Do you expect in certain parts of the world, it may live with us as an endemic rather than staying pandemic?
Dr. Vivek, I just want to give a comment. Dr. Vivek? No sound.
Dr. Vivek is muted.
Yes, hello. Yeah, Dr. Yashpal Sharma, I am trying to put you through.
Yeah. Dr. Vivek, now I am listening. Basically, Dr. Vivek, as I have already told you, that at this time, as already said also, we should not take the patient in the cath lab. We have a lot of patients we have experienced during H1N1 and SARS-CoV-1. And this patient with comorbid diseases, having sepsis and other things. So just I want to tell our experience from PGI that we never take any patient who is having sepsis or any comorbid disease, renal failure or something immediately on the cath lab. So our experience of even cardiogenic shock, late presenter, which we have published in Indian Heart Journal, basically what happens, thrombolize all, and then after interval 6 to 8 hours, give terofeban and nicorandil in small dose. 90 to 99% cases, there is no pain. Even ST elevation, which is there in late presenter with shock, that also gets settled. And also the ejection fraction remains very good. So my humble, this one submission is never take any patient to the cath lab, because the cardiologist and everything, morbidity, mortality of healthcare worker is from there. The patient will come and all the other patients will also get corona and healthcare worker. So never intervene in any patient who is corona positive or H1N1 positive or SARS-CoV-1 positive or having septicemia, otherwise pneumonia. So our experience is maximum in PGI. We have done about 15 research DM thesis, as I've already told in CSI, as well as all national and international conferences. In San Francisco, TCT, also I delivered a lecture of our ACS outcome, including cardiogenic shock and comorbidity, please. So this is my humble submission here to all the cardiologists.
Let me tell you what we have done here in Italy. We will consider every patient coming to the cath lab as suspected or COVID patient. So protection is full, PPA 3. That means fully protected. This will prolong the time. That means will take time. So the time will be expanded. That means before reperfusion. And this is a big problem. And after this, after the patient is coming to, after the procedure, all patients will be investigated. That means with the PCR test and CT. So this could be the way to do it. Or I agree with you, in many patients, you can use also thrombolysis, because I think with the new agent, fibrinolytic agents, Now the efficacy is much higher and safer, I would say. But we should remember that many patients have contraindication for lytic therapy. So in those patients, you should avoid even lytic therapy. The other important thing that if patient is affected, positive with severe pneumonia, don't go with this patient to the cath lab, even if you have STEMI, because you will lose the patient on the table every time.
So that's what we are, even during primary PCI time, we are also telling that in primary PCI, the patients which were having sepsis and other problems, they were excluded. So the primary PCI also, they were very clear patients without any sepsis.
Yeah, I agree with you. Elective patients should not go for cath lab now. But now we are in the second phase, and we started having elective patients. What we are doing now, elective patients should come to the hospital some day before. They will be tested. If they are negative, they will be admitted to the hospital. Otherwise, they should go to the isolation, and after they becoming negative, they will come back.
In fact,
that is for elective patients.
Yeah, in our hospital, we are doing 2 PCR. 1 PCR in the emergency, which is a medicine emergency. Then we shift to our orange zone. We repeat 1 PCR again, and even 90% specificity is there. Till for those cases which is needed, we take with full protection PPE kit, so that even 5% there is no transmission and any healthcare worker gets affected. We want to keep our center as a green zone. We are advocating in India as well as abroad this concept.
Absolutely, I agree. Absolutely.
My question, a very quick question, because we are getting late. In case you have done a PCI on a patient with full PPE to the staff, and if this patient turns out to be COVID positive later on because it was STEMI, I'm talking of Dr. Imad because he says now he's doing STEMI even without checking for the COVID-19. If he turns out to be COVID-19 positive, all the staff, despite PPE, will they go to quarantine or no?
They will go to test after the procedure, and the patient will be shifted to the COVID unity.
No, I'm talking of the staff who has done the procedure.
Yeah, the staff should be tested after that. They will go for PCR test.
What are your results in those patients?
But actually what happened that in the cath lab, inside the cath lab, who are coming in touch with the patient, only 3, operator and 2 nurses and a technician, not more. So these people, if patient is positive, should be tested again.
Okay, I think we move on to a small comment from from another friend from Pakistan, and then Dr. Ashokar, and then we take Vivek GUPTA. And in between, we can keep on asking questions. Please stay with us. We'll have a musical program again. Dr. Abdul Rashid Khan is a friend from Pakistan and very good, thorough gentleman and friend of Indian cardiologist as well. Please go give a very brief comment, please.
Thank you very much, Vivek GUPTA, for asking me to join this Zoom conference. I would like to ask one question from Imam Shieban. Okay, there was literature in 1995 when the magnesium sulfate was being used in acute myocardial infarction setting. Can we use again in this setting when there's a lot of problem with the PPIs and ST elimination amide, non-elimination amide? Magnesium sulfate.
Yes, I think yes, we can use. Why not?
This is because one of my patients came to me recently. He himself a doctor. He said when I had MI, instead of getting the thrombolysis, he got the magnesium sulfate, and his ST elevation became normal within half an hour or so, and his ECG was normal, his echo was normal. So I was thinking that we have got this lot of problems with ST elevation with COVID positive, COVID negative. So why don't we restart magnesium sulfate treatment in acute ST elevation MI?
Yeah, actually, you are saying that if lytic therapy is effective, what to do with the patient?
Yeah. Instead of thermolytic therapy, primary PCI, why don't you use the maximum?
If it is effective, you have all the time then to test the patient. And if it's negative, if he needs to be revascularized, then he can be revascularized. But you can wait because your reperfusion is occurring, and this is what is important for the patient. If he is still stable, you can wait, delay the procedure for a next time.
No. I was asking something else.
In the meantime, yeah.
Now, I'm asking, instead of giving the PPI in COVID-19, primary PCI is not being done because of fear of the coronavirus. Why don't we start magnesium sulfate IV injection in ST elevation in
He's saying that in COVID-19 patients, rather than using primary PCI or thrombolysis, just give magnesium sulfate. Is this your question?
Yeah, that's my question.
If he is contraindicated for thrombolytic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If he contraindicated, then I will consider him positive. Okay. And if after procedure, I will investigate him for COVID. That means with PCR test and CT. If he positive, if you know that he is positive, then you can take him to with protection PPA3 level. So that means maximum protection for all.
May I respond, Dr. Vivek Gupta?
Yeah, Dr. M.K. Das, President CSI would like to respond. Yes.
Actually, what Dr. Abdul was asking, the magnesium therapy.
Yeah.
This was tried long time back, 30 years back. And in 1990, in fact, I happened to work with a gastroenterologist. As of course, a cardiologist, I was giving this treatment, especially in the group of patients having pancreatitis, acute hemorrhagic pancreatitis and all. But somehow, what was our observation that it has got no locus standi. We could not prove it to be effective as an agent for acute myocardial infarction or STEMI or even non-STEMI. So that was our conclusion later. But what is now present is that we have got enough the drugs and enough therapeutically tested drugs which are very much helpful in taking care of the acute MI with thrombolytics, with even oral and anticoagulants like NOACs and all, and also the good quality dual antiplatelet agents, statins and all. So we have got enough agents to take care, and we can apply all those medications to take care of the patients if you are not willing to subject the patient to primary PCI.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think it covers the question and answers to Dr. Abdul Rashid Khan question. Before Dr. P.K. Ashokan comes in, I'll just take a few very brief comments from Dr. Hari Sharma, who is there, a friend from Holland and Amsterdam. His residence is in Rotterdam. He was working earlier with the Erasmus University. I'm trying to put him on mute, but difficult.
Yeah,
yes, okay.
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. Very brief comment from Dr. Hari Sharma, basically from India, now settled in Netherlands.
It's lovely to see you all. Congratulations and greetings from Netherlands to all of you. It's amazing discussion which has been going on. Actually, over the last 2 months, there is enormous research which has come out over the predominantly from the West, from Europe and US. Just today, this paper came out in Nature. I mean, this is one of the, if you would look at this, perhaps by downloading, or I can share with you this PDF file to all of you. It's an amazing story to summarize what we know about this killer, particularly in relation to the cardiovascular system. We need to really focus also on ACE2, the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, which is the key for binding this virus, and also this the spike protein, which is linked. So now there are 3 ways of tackling it. One of them is the vaccine, which has already been about 8 or 9 kind of trials which are already underway from different countries. The major trial is from Oxford and India. The Serum Institute in Pune has already produced 50 million vials, and they have been distributed around the globe for the clinical trial. And this is underway with the Oxford University. And now, the second thing is the repurposing lot of other drugs, the drugs which are already in the market, repurposing for tackling this virus. And I think that is another key. Many research are underway using the existing drugs in the market for helping these patients at the last stage in the acute situation of the lungs particularly. Now, the third thing would definitely be very important to understand the biology, how this virus is acting, or how this virus is really working as soon as it is getting infected. So the viral load and the viral load is the key, which we are trying to understand, linking to the cytokine bursts, linking to this cytokine profile, which is enhanced so quickly. And I think by tackling these two early stages, we would be able to help the patients much better way. So these would be, main thing which I would like to highlight here, and say that I think there is an enormous amount of research which is underway. Labs are working day in, day out. The people are working in the shifts in the labs here in order to find the possibility. So the antibodies treatment, which is already underway. We have the plasma from the COVID patients to inject into the newly infected COVID patients. So there are these three ways of treatment is underway at the moment, and hope to develop a better therapy. And we understand every day new things related to this killer virus. And I think the cardiovascular system, which is a morbidity for this virus, is also, side by side. There has been a tremendous discussion that whether we should stop some of the drugs which are being used for the patient for the heart failure, as well as the hypertension bearing patients. But that is not really the case. I think a very subtle titration of these drugs in together with the viral treatment are very essential. So these are a few comments which I would like to add to the entire community here. And I thank Dr. Gupta. I'm very delighted to see Dr. Asokan after such a long time, and Dr. Imad and many other people, Dr. Rath and Dr. Das. Thank you very, very much for having me, for giving this comment. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Harish Sharma, for a nice comment. And actually, we are doing all research. And I think during my presentation, I said that my father, Dr. Emil Gupta, has given a suggestion of a drug, which I cannot reveal now, which may be active as a treatment. Treatment means completely active, and we are
repurposing. Yeah.
Something. Repurposed drug. Yes. Dr. Shokan, please come in, because he's a pillar of IECR. He's been helping me and supporting me and guiding me to involve people and like this. So please, your comments, and then we'll take Mr. Vinay Gupta from Lucknow. He will talk briefly about the economical impact on India and overall world. So please, Dr. Shokan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek GUPTA. And we had a very excellent session. And the Cardiology Society of India has given a very clear guidelines regarding when to take the patient for intervention. And Dr. Shieban has mentioned, cautioned about taking up such patient with pneumonia to the doctor. Our practical difficulty is sometimes we see asymptomatic patients with STEMI and with no history of COVID. And we know that present sensitivity of PCR test is 70%. And if you take such patient to the cath lab, what are the practical issues? One. Second one is the cath lab should be a dedicated cath lab where should have a negative pressure ventilator, ventilations, and as you mentioned, full PPE kit. A patient should go to the isolation room rather than ICCU. And these are the few points I would like to share. And The other one is regarding antibody testing. And it's already mentioned that it's 25% of population in New York positive with antibodies for coronavirus. And my question is, if you do the antibody test in the second week or third week, then we'll be able to get more cases. But we may miss early patients who are very infectious in the early stage if you do only antibody testing. I think some patients you should do both. And you know that PCR is positive, IgM and IgG. And I think these are the things you would like to share. I would like to know your views.
Like only this full.
Dr. Helena Parierra, are you here? He was just now, I think he's not visible. Dr. Parierra from Portugal, are you here? Yes, please, yeah. Please answer the question because Dr. Shokar has put a very valid point. Should we have a dedicated cath lab or something? Can you answer this question?
Yeah.
Yes, we have. In our hospital, we have 2 cath labs, but the administration did not separate the cath labs. Fortunately, we are using one for supposed COVID patients because all patients without COVID test are considered positive, and the other one for the routine, but we have no routine. So we are almost working in the same cath lab because you have the test we have in a couple of hours, you have the results of the test. So you are using only one cath lab. You have positive pressure in the cath lab, and the technical services did not change this yet. It's easy to change the AVAC, but as we don't have a lot of patients, we are working with positive pressure within the cath. But of course, it will be better to invert the AVAC. The other thing is you don't use the beds that you have at the cath lab for patients with don't use it. The patients enters just from the emergency room to the cath lab and to the cath lab without stopping outside the room. It's what you are doing. Of course, if it increase the number of patients, of course you are going to separate correctly the 2 circuits.
Okay, is answering your question, Doctor.
Actually, and you are using for all the patients DPE 3, all the suspected, except the ones that are in the ward and were tested before. Until now, fortunately, we don't have no positive patient. Only today we receive a patient from cardiac surgery, and she was tested before leaving the other hospital, but she arrived at our hospital and she starts with fever, and today the test is positive, and she had 6 negative tests before. But okay, and you should put her in another ward.
Actually, I think it depends on the volume you are working on. I mean, if you have normal volume with 1 cath lab, elective patient you are not doing because of the emergencies. The emergencies ACS are decreasing. Yeah. So I think the main thing that you can work in the same cath lab, sanitization after each procedure is very important. You should do it every time.
Yeah, the sanitization is twice between each patient because you have time. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it will be not possible. Yeah. Because you are performing 3-4 cases a day. Yeah.
Actually, if you have high volume, that means you have more than 1 cath lab. Dedicate 1 cath lab for COVID.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Move forward because you see, when I was talking to our ministers here, And in recently, our Chief Minister of Delhi has given a comment that we have to move on and we have to live with virus. They are trying to open the lockdown because the economy is suffering. Same is Mr. Donald Trump is saying every day when some journalist ask him that you are opening the lockdown, still the number of deaths are so much. He said you have to, if you don't have money, how will you live? So the answer was different. He said, if you don't have money, how will you live? That means they have to open the economy. So to answer all these questions, we have our expert, Mr. Vivek GUPTA. He is working in one of the important areas. Vinay, please go ahead and tell about the economical part very briefly in 5 minutes. What is the GDP and what all those things?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, you're very loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah, in fact, as far as the economy goes, we think, in fact, the feel is that it's going to be a problem going ahead. Because if you actually see the finance minister, she has given a projection of growth of GDP is going to be, say, 1.9%, which actually is very low. So if it's actually going to be going forward, it's going to be a problem for the country to revive.
Okay. Okay, so you mean to say that the things will not be easy for the next 2 years or 1 year, and we'll have a more. We have to really work hard to get back to the normal economy, the whole world.
No, it's maybe if you go for the country India, it's not going to be 2 years. It's going to be maybe another 2-3 quarters.
You mean to say 20 years?
No, 2-3 quarters. Quarters means say around maybe this financial year.
Okay, one financial year. Okay, thank you very much for the input. Any other comment? Because we would like to have any other comment from you, or we should. Yeah. You want to talk something about economy, Mr. Okay, I think we all have been listening to a lot of things now at this point of time. For the interest of the audience and the Facebook Live people, we would like to invite our friend Pankaj Jeswani to give few songs in the end as a part of any other thing which you want to discuss, Dr. Shokan, or we would like to go for the musical part, which we always do. And I think Imad knows about the Indian and Bollywood music, and similarly Helder Parierra. So can we, Mansur, can we go to Pankaj Jeswani?
Yes.
But I can't see you. You have to put your video on.
Who?
Yes.
You don't see me?
Yeah, I see you now, Mr. Jeswani.
Okay.
So please give some Bollywood songs for the interest of the audience, and then Facebook Live as well. And then we'll finish off with a summary from Dr. Chinmay Gupta and Dr. Anand Gupta. अनम्यूट करो यार, ये क्या होता है? ये यहाँ जी.
So could you listen to me?
Yes.
Can I carry on?
Yeah, please go ahead. We're listening.
Okay, I'll give you few couplets of songs because now time is not very much left. कि मैं एक गाना प्रॉपर सुनाऊं. मैं कुछ आपको मेडलेस बनाकर कई गानों की यादें दिला देता हूं. ठीक है सर. Thanks for joining me.
अस्मिता,
मुझे आपने मौका दिया, बहुत धन्यवाद. आभार है आपका. ठीक है सर.
कभी हो जाएगा ये. क्या कर
किशोर जी के फैन है, तो कुछ गीत किशोर जी के हैं. इतना सुनने के बाद इस गीत से शुरुआत करता हूँ. जिंदगी का सफर है ये कैसा सफर, कोई समझा नहीं, कोई जाना नहीं. जिंदगी का सफर है ये कैसा सफर, कोई समझा नहीं, कोई जाना नहीं. है ये कैसे डगर चलते हैं सब मगर, कोई समझा बीच में कुछ सॉन्ग मैच करते हुए मिक्स करते हुए। ये शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर ले जा। ये शाम मस्तानी मदहोश किए जा, मुझे डोर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर ले जा। तुम या कोई हकीकत कौन तुम बतलाओ, देर से कितनी दूर खड़ी हो और करीब आ जाओ। तुम या कोई हकीकत कौन तुम बतलाओ, देर से कितनी दूर खड़ी हो और करीब आ जाओ। ये गीत भी आपकी यादों को ताज़ा करेगा। सुंदर सा गीत है, ध्यान दीजिएगा। जीवन के सफर में राही मिलते हैं बिछड़ जाने को, और दे जाते हैं यादें तन्हाई में तड़पाने को। हो 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 हो, प्यार दीवाना होता है, मस्ताना होता है, हर खुशी से हर गम से बेगाना होता है। प्यार दीवाना होता है, मस्ताना होता है, हर खुशी से हर गम से बेगाना होता है। क्या खूब लगती हो, बड़ी सुंदर दिखती हो, क्या खूब लगती हो, बड़ी सुंदर दिखती हो, तुम जान से प्यारी हो, तुम जान हमारी हो। फिर से कहो कहती रहो, अच्छा लगता है, जीवन का हर सपना अब सच्चा लगता है। ओ क्या खूब लगती हो, बड़ी सुंदर दिखती हो। एक और बेहतरीन नगमा देखिएगा, सुंदर सा आप ही के लिए। तुम कितनी खूबसूरत हो, ये मेरे दिल से पूछो, इन धड़कनों से पूछो, तुम क्यों दिल है तुम पे दीवाना, तुम कितनी खूबसूरत हो, ये मेरे दिल से पूछो, इन धड़कनों से पूछो, तुम क्यों दिल है तुम पे दीवाना। सनम रे तू मेरा सनम हुआ रे, करम रे तेरा मुझ पे करम हुआ रे, सनम रे तू मेरा सनम हुआ रे, करम रे तेरा मुझ पे करम हुआ रे, सनम रे तू मेरा सनम हुआ रे।
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
गीत मैं सुनाना चाहूंगा अगर समय आपके पास है तो।
हाँ चलिए एक गीत और सुनते हैं। Dr. Shieban and Dr. Parierra must be enjoying a little because these are old songs of Kishore Kumar, and we want to be a little hilarious also at the end of the day. So please continue, stay on for a few minutes more. Yeah, Dr. Jaswani, Mr. Jaswani.
हैप्पी सॉन्ग मूड को ठीक करने के लिए बहुत सुना, कोरोना मैंने भी बहुत सुना। रियली वेरी वेरी सीरियस थिंग गोइंग ऑन, सभी अफेक्टेड हैं। कोई कमेंट न करते हुए सुंदर सा गीत मूड को लाइट करते हैं।
हाँ करिए।
अपना दिल तो आवारा न जाने किस से आएगा, अपना दिल हसीनों ने बुलाया, गले से भी लगाया, बहुत समझाया, यही न समझा। हसीनों ने बुलाया, गले से भी लगाया, बहुत समझाया, यही न समझा। बहुत भूला है बेचारा, न जाने किस से आएगा। मैं तो बता दूं, हेमंत कुमार जी का नगमा है, वादों होगा। अजब है दीवाना, न घर न ठिकाना, जमी से बेगाना, पलक से जुदा। अजब है दीवाना, न घर न ठिकाना, जमी से बेगाना, पलक से जुदा। ये एक टूटा हुआ तारा, न जाने किस से आएगा, अपना दिल तो आवारा, न जाने किस से आएगा। लाखों है यहाँ दिल वाले, और प्यार नहीं मिलता, आँखों में गिरे की वफा का इकरार नहीं मिलता। जमाना देखा सारा है सबका सहारा, ये दिल ही हमारा होगा न किसी का। अजब है दीवाना, न घर न ठिकाना, जमी से बेगाना, पलक से जुदा। ये एक टूटा हुआ तारा, न जाने किस से आएगा, है अपना दिल तो आवारा, न जाने किस से आएगा, अपना दिल तो आवारा, न जाने किस से आएगा।
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Pankaj Jeswani is a very important singer and celebrity and friend. And today he is speaking. Otherwise, he has a full orchestra, but this time he has agreed to do it, and it is really enlightening for all of us. So in the end, I will have one word from everybody. But before that, the closing comment from everybody. Before that, I'll invite Dr. Chinmay Gupta to just tell about the summary or vote of thanks or whatever you want to say. He is my son, Dr. Chinmay Gupta, now actively involved with me in the previous IECR as well as this time.
Hello, I am Dr. Chinmay Gupta. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are loud and audible. Please go ahead.
I welcome and congratulate all the senior doctors present on this panel, learned speakers for a very successful webinar, for such interactive session and such an elaborate talk of IECR COVID-19 series. Apart from many other lectures, this is the third in this series. I am very thankful to Dr. Lewin from US, Dr. Shieban from Italy, Dr. Parierra from Portugal, Dr. Rashid from Pakistan, Dr. Ashokan, Dr. M.K. Das, and many other senior doctors from Cardiological Society and ICC. We welcome suggestions from all regarding more topics that you want us to cover in the future. We welcome all the feedbacks and inform the date of the next webinar with more updates on COVID. I also thank Mr. Vivek Gupta from HDFC Lucknow for the economic hazards that the country is facing, and especially Shri Pankaj Jeswani ji for his musical participation. Looking forward to have everyone in the next session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Closing comment from everybody. Dr. Shieban, just a quick one closing sentence, and then we go on to the other speakers before we finalize today.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Shieban, you are unmuted. Sorry.
Yeah, this is Dr. Anand Gupta. Sir, can you hear me?
Just hold on, Anand, just hold on. Just hold on.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Shieban, can you hear me? यार बीट नहीं हो रहा बेटा हो गया stopping spotlight video.
You hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you. Sorry for the technical glitch. It's not easy.
Okay. So what is my final sentence is the recommendation for protection to preserve social distance, masks, to use masks outside, and every time you are getting in touch with any other people outside. So this is very important in order to limit the spread over of the infection. And I really enjoyed this interactive section, and it is great to share experience globally for a global problem. Anyway, thank you very much for the invitation.
Dr. Das, final comment one.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me to this panel discussion. Actually, I would always suggest everyone that we must adopt, we must adapt, and also we must adapt to the changes that has actually COVID-19 has given to us. And we must not lose the hope. We will have to continue with our hope that we, as the best species on the globe, will be able to overcome this. And it's not very far, we'll be able to overcome Corona and COVID-19. That's it.
Dr. Yashpal Sharma.
It was really nice. Everybody contributed a very good thing, and your effort was so good that with the music and everything, it was so exciting that you keep on doing. My last message will be, never take any patient with COVID positive and sepsis to the cath lab, because that is the number one. You read all paper, Indian Heart Journal published, we have least mortality of cardiogenic shock as well as ACS in the world. Please, for God's sake, not let anybody, doctors, paramedical and others, to put the risk at this time. This is my humble request, and I think logical science also here.
Dr. Helder Parierra, last closing comment.
Yes, I have. It was a pleasure to be with you and to share all these experiences with the different parts of the world. And I have nothing to add to what was said by my previous speakers. And congratulations for this webinar. Thank you very much.
Dr. Harish Sharma, just one quick comment, very quick.
Just to people, and was a very interactive and very useful discussion. Only the message is that the people back in India should really take those measures which are particularly the social distancing of at least 1.5 to 2 meters from each other. If they are going out, they should stay back. They should avoid any kind of contact. They should avoid this infection, because if that goes in and it goes from one to other, it spreads like anything. So the main thing is to contain the spread of the virus. And by the time things are developing all over the globe, and we hope to have some breakthroughs in a very short time, in next half a year or maybe in 2 to 3 month time from Europe or US. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Dr. Anand Gupta from Lucknow, just a small comment, very quick.
Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Gupta from King George's Medical University, Lucknow. My sincere vote of thanks to Professor Dr. Vivek GUPTA, sir, for his masterly talk on COVID-19 associated with cardiovascular diseases. And this has been a very interactive academic session, not just academic, I'll say both academic and cultural session. We look forward for many more webinars in this lockdown period and beyond this as well. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Dr. Ashokan, please, final comment.
Yeah. I think it's to congratulate Dr. Gupta for arranging a webinar like this. It's a platform to exchange our experience and to hear from the experts in the field of cardiology and especially in the COVID treatment. And nice to see Dr. Harish Sharma after a long time. Oh, I think he must be busy with doing a lot of research in these aspects and like say stem cells, and I think it will come out within few months or few days with the answer for this infection. And hope that Dr. Gupta will continue such venture in the future and will arrange more webinar like this, and so that you'll have opportunity to learn from the experts in other places. And I think as all of them stressed, non-pharmacological management, like say social distancing and other things, are most important than the intervention. I think that's a message given by almost all of us. I think is, and that should be the message out of this seminar. And I think it's once again I congratulate Dr. Gupta.
Yeah, so finally, I conclude this meeting, and I'm very thankful to all the speakers, especially from US, Dr. Jack Lewin, who was earlier ACC president, Dr. Shieban, my personal friend from Italy, Dr. Helder Parierra, Dr. P. Sira, Dr. Yashpal Sharma, Dr. Harish Sharma, Dr. Shokan, Dr. Karachi people, Dr. Abdul Rashid Khan, Dr. Mansoor Ahmad. They are very good friends and all. Next, we are trying to do the webinar every week. Next webinar will be held on 13th of May. That means every Wednesday evening we'll have to, something new will come up and we'll discuss more with Dr. Fayaz Shawl will be there from US, and maybe one or two more people. I'll keep you informed. Last thing which I would like to tell you, that this pandemic after Spanish flu, which came in 1902, which killed about 4 to 6 crore population was died during that time. And in fact, our Rashtrapita Mahatma Gandhi was also infected and he survived. This is the second most important pandemic, because there have been many pandemics that WHO, like swine flu, HIV, and cholera earlier. So, but this is the second most important pandemic. A lot of people are arguing that deaths because of tuberculosis is more than what people are dying. And they say that you should not scare. But I tell them, everybody, from tuberculosis, people will die over years. While here, if the patient dies, he dies within few weeks. For 2-3 weeks, we have lost many people. In Apollo Hospital, we have 81 beds reserved for COVID-19 out of 500 beds. And I get call every day from about social people. Every lot of people are waiting and they're not getting beds. They don't want to go to the government hospital because of the quality of treatment, and they can pay. And today, as of now, in Apollo Hospital Delhi, we have 10 patients waiting. We have a separate isolation ward. We have separate isolation ICU. But the numbers are so much. I'm talking about those people who can pay. They have to wait, and they are actually pressurizing me personally because they know me. Every half an hour, I get a call that please arrange a bed when there's no bed, because we cannot discharge a patient unless there are 2 negative COVID PCR tests negative. Then only we discharge as per the government protocol. So the things are not so easy, and I'm little concerned about the lockdown getting over because of economy issues. I'm really nervous and a little panicky about this, that phobia, because the last day we had 3,900 new patients in India alone, more than what Italy has in one day. And similarly, 195 deaths yesterday in 24 hours in India. So we have not seen the peak. So I think the Honorable Prime Minister is doing the best, and we are under consultation, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. But there are a lot of poor people who are migrant workers. Just to tell you, the Italian people and Portuguese people who are stranded in various parts of the country, and they are not able to go because there is no buses, there is no train, there are no flights, and they are walking kilometers and kilometers to reach their home. It's a real pathetic situation for poor people in India. And there are a lot of NGOs, non-government organizations who are trying to give the food to them. The things are difficult, but at the same time, we don't want the surge to go like Italy or like Wuhan or like USA. So the things are not easy. We'll come back with a new information next week on Wednesday. We'll try to invite everybody who can join this with Fayaz Shawl and other people from maybe the ACC president, also the current ACC president. Thank you very much. And I really enjoyed this webinar. It lasted for almost 3 hours. hold you, and I don't think any other body is commenting now. And thank you very much, Ibad, and thank you very much, Elder, Dr. Yashpal Sharma, Dr. Harish Sharma, Dr. Shokan, Pankaj Jeswani, others, whosoever is online here at this point. I think Jack Lewin is gone away. He showed yesterday he's living in the best part of New York. He's on the penthouse on 15th floor. He showed the New York, the beautiful New York, which he's not going down. I wanted to show those pictures, but I think we were short of time. We would have taken the laptop outside his house and showed the whole beautiful New York City, which we saw yesterday. Thank you very much. Anything, and I wave and greet everybody. It was very enlightening to listen to Mr. Indresh Kumarji, who is a very senior person. Let me tell you that he's the most respected person from our community of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which is RSS, which is which is guiding the BJP, which is running the government. And he came and joined, and he gave the spiritual wheel, and he's very dogmatic that this is a man-made virus. Let's hope that it is not. But if it is that true, then we have to be really, if this is true for this year, next year something else will come or something else will go off. We have to be very, very careful. The humankind, the mankind is under stress, is the God which has to survive. We pray to God Almighty to save us from this disastrous condition. Thank you very much. And we close the meeting now, and we'll give a special message personally on the email to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We always pray to God at the end.